Have you ever felt your heart pick up what others cannot see? That you understand people before they speak and feel their energy even when they try to hide it? If your answer is yes, you are not weak. You are an empath, a person born with a hidden sense the world rarely understands. In a noisy, chaotic world, sensitivity feels like a burden. But the truth is, your sensitivity is a form of power, one that can influence, protect, and guide you if you learn how to use it. This guide is not about soft empathy that drains you. It's about transforming your emotional awareness into strength, clarity, and psychological influence. It's about learning how to stay open-hearted without being overwhelmed, how to connect deeply without losing yourself, and how to sense people's intentions before they even speak. In the chapters ahead, you will discover how to shield your mind from stress, anxiety, and emotional overload, how to read people with precision using Empathic NLP, how to influence others naturally and ethically, how to reshape your mindset through dark psychology, hypnosis, and CBT, how to stop absorbing people's negativity and start directing your own emotional energy. This is more than an introduction. It is the doorway to a new version of yourself. The strong empath, not the exhausted one. The empowered observer, not the overwhelmed absorber. The person who can walk into any room and instantly feel what others. And before we begin, do something small that makes a big difference. Hit the like button. It helps this message reach more people who need it. Share it with someone who feels too much, just like you. And if you're new here, subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss our latest releases. And so you'll always be the first to experience the next breakthrough. Now, take a breath, open your mind, and step with me into the world of the empath, where your greatest burden becomes your greatest power. Chapter 1. Understanding the ability to understand. If you're picking up this book, chances are you have at least heard the word empath. Nonetheless, thorough understanding of any subject first requires a formal definition. If you Google empath, you will find hundreds of articles attempting to define the term. However, Googling empath definition wields a concise definition that, while not doing complete justice to the concept, can be used as a baseline. Empath. A person with the paranormal ability to apprehend a mental or emotional state of another individual. When I put it like that, the concept sounds simple, doesn't it? It sounds like something everyone does all the time. Knowing someone's emotional state is as easy as looking at their face and seeing what expression they're giving. What is so special about being an empath? Facial expressions only provide a rudimentary understanding of someone's emotions and gives almost no information on their mental state. Think of how easy it is for a student or employee to walk into school or work with a huge smile on their face, giving everyone an exaggerated greeting, only to reveal a firearm moments later and commence a tragedy. Facial expressions cannot provide the apprehension acquired by empathic abilities. In order to justify this statement, I will need to further explain what the main ability of the empath is. The above definition of an empath deals with apprehension or understanding of an emotional or mental state. This implies that an empath knows what someone is feeling or thinking. Because humans share the same emotions and general logic, an empath turns that apprehension of another's thoughts and feelings into understanding or comprehension of those thoughts and feelings. Those with empathic abilities see the situation from the eyes of the person that has invoked their ability, as if they are literally walking in their shoes. Considering this, it should be easy to deduce what the true power of the empath is: the ability to share the feelings and basic thoughts of others. Now we can combine everything we have discussed to give ourselves the most comprehensive definition. Empath. A person with the ability to feel and comprehend the emotional and mental state of others. A simple change, I know. Trust me, it makes all the difference. I know some of you are saying hogwash and balderdash, or at least would be if this was the 1800s. How can someone know what someone else is thinking, let alone feel exactly what they are feeling? This sounds like sci-fi nonsense. I am aware that at the surface level, it sounds like something out of a movie, and I assure you, your skepticisms are regarded. However, I never said anything about reading minds. The ability to know someone's mental state isn't sci-fi. Concepts like game theory provide examples of accurately predicting opponents' future decisions. In layman's terms, humans are capable of getting in each other's heads. Think of football or chess. In football, coaches and players rely on predicting their opponent's plans and actions in order to get an advantage. Sometimes a certain player on defense can't outplay a certain offensive player. The offensive player has the other's proverbial number. Similarly, in chess, people try different variations in an attempt to get their opponent into a position they do not understand, effectively getting into their head. We can see now that understanding the mental state of a person is not as far-fetched as it first seems. Fine then, you argue. What about sharing feelings? Are you saying that if someone breaks their toe or loses a child, that an empath can feel the exact same pain? Well, no. Being an empath is not a magic spell to curse oneself, but also, if you see someone get stabbed in the gut on TV, don't you grab your stomach? Do shed a tear if your favorite soap star goes into a coma. People sympathize with characters all the time, and they aren't even real. To sympathize with others' feelings and emotions is something most of us do naturally. If you try to comprehend that sympathy, it grows into empathy and understanding, a capability of the experienced empath. There is one more question I usually get regarding empaths. Isn't an empath just anyone that has empathy? It's a fair question. Yes, empaths are empathetic towards others. No, anyone who shows empathy towards another is not necessarily an empath. Though many people are capable of empathy, they do not have the ability to share the feelings and thought of others. For example, you might see an automobile accident. You might be the person who gets sad, hoping no one got hurt. You might even be the kind of person to get upset that this accident is keeping you from getting somewhere on time. If you were empathetic with this person, you might think, poor guy, probably just going to meet his wife for lunch. An empath goes further. An empath would consider the age of the person, whether they were dating, married, if they had kids. Maybe they were going to see their parents. Then they died. They never made it to their destination. Police will have to search for any kind of identity in order to contact the victim's family. Then, after hours of waiting, anxious and worried, the family gets the phone call. It may be a son, daughter, wife, mother, father, or any manner of loved one. But the scene goes the same. They answer the phone to get the terrible news. Tragedy has struck. People have been hurt. The empath instinctively considers this and feels pain, another's pain. That intense connection to others is what it means to be an empath. If you are already an empath or suspect you're one, then this is probably already known to you. You might have known what it was, but have never been able to define or describe it before. If you are not an empath, then this introduction to empaths might have been confusing. That's a good thing. It means your brain is working to grasp the ideas. It takes time and effort to introduce concepts to your mind that you have never considered. And reading the introductory chapter is only the first step in any exercise of enlightenment. I have so far only explained what an empath is. For one to truly understand what an empath can do, it is very important to understand how they can do it. There are many factors that lead to gaining the abilities of the empath. However, this book will focus on the two most important, which are emotions and universal oneness, chapters 1 and 2 respectively. Love is perhaps the most important factor. However, without the proper knowledge or respect for the aforementioned two, then truly grasping love as an empathic tool rather than a hereditary response is exceedingly difficult. To keep this text palatable, I will restrict it to the topics of emotion and universal connection. My 8th grade history teacher, we'll call him Mr. Teacher, was an eccentric man. Round and short, he loved shouting about the blitzkrieg in WWJD. He would recite his lectures with such passion and purpose. It was as if he was there himself. He used to work at a high school in another city. One day, Mr. Teacher was walking down the hallway and came across a 17-year-old student. The student wasn't acting weird, just strolling along. For some reason, Mr. Teacher had a bad feeling. He sensed a strange energy coming from the student. Something wasn't right. Mr. Teacher let the student walk a few yards away, then started to follow him, unknown to the student. The student kept walking until he thought he was completely out of sight from anyone. It was then that the student stopped, produced a disassembled shotgun from his trousers, and proceeded to assemble it. Mr. Teacher was able to recognize the firearm and charge towards the culprit. The student heard Mr. Teacher's footsteps. He turned around and looked at Mr. Teacher in fear. He ran as fast as he could while trying to assemble the shotgun, but luckily Mr. Teacher was able to catch and tackle the would-be gunman, saving many young lives. Mr. Teacher assured us that this was a true story. When he told us that story as kids, I thought he was just bragging, trying to keep us from acting up. The more I thought about it, the less I considered it bragging, and the more I considered it an example of the importance of being able to feel the emotional states of your fellow man. What is an empath? An empath is someone who possesses a high level of awareness of the emotions felt by other people. Individuals with this ability can experience both positive and negative feelings of others as if they were his or she own. Many experts believe that having this gift makes someone more emotionally and socially intelligent than the average person. As such, numerous studies have been conducted in order to fully define and understand the characteristics and abilities of an empath. Empathy versus sympathy versus compassion. Before delving into the complexities of being an empath, it is important to understand first the distinctions among the concepts of sympathy, compassion, and empathy. Some people use these terms interchangeably. However, once examined in detail, many would realize how empaths differ from people who sympathize or feel compassionate over the plight of others. At the most basic level, sympathy and compassion refer to one's personal feelings towards another individual. When one sees another person suffering, it is normal to feel bad for the person who is actually experiencing pain or despair. One component that separates one from the other is the element of action attributed to compassion. Nowadays, sympathizing with another person has taken on a more passive tone. This is why greeting card companies have a separate category for sympathy-themed cards. Expressing commiseration or feeling pity for a person who has a stroke of bad luck shows that you are sympathizing with them. Feeling compelled to do something about that person's unfortunate situation indicates a certain level of compassion towards others. Neither of these two, however, means that you are feeling that person's pain and suffering on a personal level. Through the immense power of the mind, empaths are able to connect with the emotions of others, ranging from inexplicable joy to absolute misery. Without this level of dedication, empaths are naturally vulnerable to the downsides of being exposed to the stress and negative energy of other people. Fortunately, aiming for the complete mastery of empathic abilities is not an impossible feat to achieve. The 5 types of empaths according to experts. Empaths can be categorized into 5 subsets: cognitive empaths, emotional empaths, compassionate empaths, somatic empaths, and spiritual empaths. All 5 types possess the common traits associated with empathy. However, points of divergence rise based on how the empath handles the emotions that he or she is sensing from others. 1. Cognitive empaths. Cognitive empaths process the thoughts and feelings of others in a logical and rational manner, rather than in an emotional way like the other types do. Because of this, some researchers in the field of interest refer to this as perspective-oriented empathy, or empathy by thought. Having this ability is useful when you have to engage with others in a professional setting, such as interviews and negotiations. The cognitive empath would be able to himself or herself into the shoes of the other person without having to deal with the more emotional aspects of their encounter. Though this does not fit completely with the basic definition of empathy that most people know, cognitive empathy is considered by experts as a subcategory mainly due to its perceptive and sensitive nature. A rather dark but illustrative example of this ability in action is those who employ torture as an interrogation technique. Using cognitive empathy, the torturers would be able to devise more effective ways of hurting someone to get information without having to feel pity or sympathy. 2. Emotional empaths. These empaths possess the qualities that more commonly associated with the concept of empathy. According to research studies, it is also most likely the first brush with empathy that everyone experiences during early childhood. It can be observed among babies who smile back to their parents whenever they see them smiling at them. Similarly, some experts believe that this ability is at play too, when babies cry after hearing the sound of other children or babies crying. Being an emotional empath is reportedly beneficial among those in the service and care industries. For example, nurses would be able to better attend to the needs of their patients if they could understand and feel their emotions as if they were their own. They would be able to sense distress and pain, even when the patient is unable to express their feelings due to their condition. On the other hand, people with emotional empathy are vulnerable towards the so-called empathy overload, which would then lead them to be burnt out emotionally. As such, they need to learn techniques on how better regulate their personal emotions and control their reactions towards whatever stimuli is affecting them. 3. Compassionate empaths. Compassionate empaths feel the urge to help others whenever they sense the distress and other negative emotions of those around them. This is consistent with the concept of pure compassion, wherein the person feels concern about someone else, and therefore feels the need to act on eliminating the problem or mitigating its effect. The main difference lies in the level of understanding that empaths and compassionate have towards other people. Many experts believe that this is the ideal form of empathy. In general, people would appreciate your ability to understand their situation, but only to a certain extent. Bursting out in tears would also not be of much value towards those in need, no matter how deeply you feel for their plights. Without extending out a helping hand, they might feel like that. You are merely expressing your sympathies or even pity towards them. The initiative to assist others in their time of need is what sets apart compassionate empaths from the other types of empaths, thus giving them a more favorable reputation among experts in this field. 4. Somatic empath. One of the lesser recognized types of empaths, somatic empaths primarily feel the physical pain of other people rather than emotions and thoughts. For example, witnessing someone being punched hard on the face would make the somatic empath feel a similar smacking sensation on his or her face. Most cases of somatic empaths are observed among identical twins. Furthermore, in rare cases wherein the twins were separated at birth, at least one of the twins would report experiencing an inexplicable physical trauma. It would usually turn out that the other twin had actually experienced the incident that caused the trauma at around the same time. Researchers suggest that this is proof of how somatic empathy works. The echoes of physical sensations, particularly pain, travels and hits those who are vulnerable and receptive to them. 5. Spiritual empath. This is the least studied of all the types of empaths, mainly because it bears more similarities with Eastern traditional philosophies rather than modern neuroscience and psychology. Still, this is considered as one of the primary types of empath due to its nature and general qualities. Unlike other types of empaths, spiritual empaths are said to possess stronger and closer connections with a higher consciousness or otherworldly beings. They are more sensitive and receptive towards the energy and messages from other dimensions, thus giving them more special psychic abilities. Some experts compare this to the concept of personal enlightenment that many Eastern religions strive for. Thus it is said that spiritual empaths can hone their skills through regular and proper meditation. Take note that the different types of empaths are not mutually exclusive from one another. This means that someone who exhibits signs of being a somatic empath can also be an emotional empath at the same time. Being categorized into one label, however, suggests that the empath is primarily showing qualities that are more associated with that particular type. Much like anything that is distributed along a spectrum, finding the right balance is the key to making the most out of one's empathic abilities. Simply feeling and understanding others does not make one a good empath. Logic and emotions should always be blended well in order to best utilize one's gifts and potentials. Thus, empaths would benefit from, first, learning what it truly means to be an empath, and second, experimenting with the many ways one can grow as a full-fledged empath. Chapter 2. The Empath Phenomenon. The empath phenomenon is a way that psychologists and psychiatrists have managed to look into the world of empathic gifts and discover why empaths feel, think, and act the way that they do. Through looking into the mind of empaths, researchers have discovered 5 reasons why empaths are this way. What they discovered was how the mirror neuron system, electromagnetic fields, emotional contagion, increased dopamine sensitivity, and synesthesia all come together to support an empath with their gift. That's right. There is literally a science behind your gifts that explains why they work the way they do and how they impact you. In this chapter, we are going to explore these 5 factors and discover how they support you in being an empath. This is going to help you feel more confident in your gift by realizing that it is very normal and that many people experience. Through understanding the science of empathy, we are also able to discover how healing can take place so that you can heal yourself and experience life as an empowered empath who thrives on a day-to-day basis. This way, you do not have to feel as though you are suffering at the hand of your sensitivity, the mirror neuron system. In your brain, a specific group of specialized brain cells exists solely for the purpose of experiencing compassion. These brain cells work in a way that allows individuals to mirror the emotions or feelings of another individual, such as fear or joy. With these brain cells, we are able to experience compassion for each other so that we can support one another in many different ways throughout life. For example, if your child were crying, you would also feel sad from your mirror neuron system. If your friend was feeling joyful about their recent promotion at work, you would feel joy with them. Through this ability to mirror another's emotions, you are able to genuinely share their experience and offer your support in whatever way it may be needed. This helps us deepen our emotional connections and supports us in experiencing a stronger sense of community with those around us. Empaths are believed to have a set of mirror neuron cells that are hyper-responsive, allowing empaths to resonate at an even deeper level with those around them. This allows empaths to feel even deeper connections with those around them, allowing them to feel as though they can literally feel the emotions or pain of another individual. Because the resonance is deeper and the mirroring is stronger, empaths may even find themselves crying alongside someone who is in pain because they are able to mirror the other person's emotions to such a strong degree. In contrast to empaths and narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, these are individuals who are believed to have what is known as an empathy deficient disorder, meaning that their mirror neuron system is actually underactive. These individuals are incapable of experiencing unconditional love and have a tendency to cause harm to others as a way to feel good in their own life. They are known to cling to empaths or individuals who experience higher levels of empathy, likely because they long to feel empathy themselves, but cannot produce empathetic emotions on their own. Electromagnetic field. Science has shown that the heart and the brain are both actively capable of producing electromagnetic fields that are pulsated into the space around the individual. The Heart Math Institute claims that these electromagnetic fields have the capacity to transmit information about a person's energy, such as their emotions, energy in motion, to other people. In general, everyone can intuitively sense and pick up information from these electromagnetic fields. even if they do not realize that they are actively doing it. However, it is believed that empaths are more sensitive to these energy fields and that they can become overwhelmed by it, often because they do not know what is happening, and they may not be able to tell the difference between their own electromagnetic field and someone else's. Other individuals are not the only ones equipped with electromagnetic fields either. The moon, the sun, the earth, and many other things exist with their own electromagnetic fields that we can intuitively pick up. Just like with other humans, empaths are believed to be more in tune with these electromagnetic fields too. Most empaths believe without a fraction of a doubt that the sun, moon, and earth can significantly impact their energy and mind from the electromagnetic output. That being said, not all realize that it is from the science-backed electromagnetic field that exists around various people and things. Emotional contagion. A phenomenon known as emotional contagion is believed to be a part of an empath's ability to feel other people to such a strong degree too. Research has shown that the average individual can sense and pick up on the emotions of others when they are nearby. Emotional contagion can best be recognized in a household where one person comes home grumpy after a bad day, and then everyone else seems to find themselves feeling grumpy too. People can generally catch someone else's feelings, and they can spread like a wave over a group of people, quickly bringing many individuals into the same emotional experience. Psychologists believe that emotional contagion is how groups of people are able to maintain great relationships, because they are able to intimately understand each other and express similar emotions and understanding. As you may have expected, it is believed that empaths have a stronger capacity to catch other people's feelings through this very phenomena. As such, they find themselves feeling other people's emotions in a particularly intense manner that may feel as though the emotion is authentically their own, when in reality it came from someone else. Increased dopamine sensitivity. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is known for increasing the activity of neurons in the brain. Dopamine is associated with responses including pleasure. Research was done that suggested that empaths who identify as introverts are known for having a higher sensitivity to dopamine than extroverts have. What this means is that an introverted empath requires less dopamine in order to feel a pleasurable response to stimuli in their environment. This likely explains why introverted empaths are more content doing something quiet and relaxed than something outgoing. Too much stimulation that produces too much dopamine could result in feelings of overwhelm and anxiety from significantly increased pleasure. Empaths who identify as extroverted are still particularly sensitive to dopamine, but it was recognized that the way they process dopamine is fairly different from introverted empaths. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by an excess of it, extroverted empaths actually crave dopamine and find themselves doing things in search of an increased dopamine high. This means that they will regularly engage in active environments, join crowds, and enjoy the more outgoing side of life as a way to feel fueled up and positive in their life. Synesthesia. There is a state known as mirror touch synesthesia, which seems to be the most aligned with the empath phenomenon. Synesthesia itself is a neurological condition that is known for pairing two completely different senses together in the brain. For example, if you hear a certain piece of music and you begin seeing certain colors in your mind's eye, you are experiencing synesthesia. Mirror touch synesthesia is an amplified variation of this condition, whereby individuals can actually feel the emotions and sensations of other people within their own body. The way they feel these sensations seem as though they are actually happening to them when, in reality, they are not. However, an empath would likely not know the difference since they may have no idea what is actually going on. To them, it may feel so compelling that they genuinely believe their emotions are being impacted by something happening directly to them. Not only does this phenomenon clearly explain what happens to empaths during their empathic experiences, But it also gives a very clear reason as to why these things are happening. As you now realize, being an empath is a very real experience, and it is largely involved in electromagnetic fields and mirror touch synesthesia. The question now is, how can you incorporate healing into your life so that you can gain more control over these experiences and stop feeling as though you are entrapped in a vicious cycle that you cannot escape? The answer is somewhat simple. You need to begin engaging in healing. One way that you can begin healing is through energy healing, which is designed to support you in keeping your own electromagnetic fields clear and comfortable. You also need to focus on living life for yourself and taking back any control that you may have lost through previous traumatic or painful experiences. By healing from your past and allowing yourself to take back control, you can take control over your energies and begin living your best life. Chapter 3. Understanding others. One of the key elements of emotional intelligence is the capacity to understand others. Many associate it with empathy, which is one of the main abilities of an emotionally intelligent person. This means that this goes beyond merely sensing feelings and emotions. To understand others, you must take a genuine interest in them as individuals who think, feel, and experience things in their own way. You are good at understanding others when you possess the following emotional and social skills. You can pick up and correctly interpret emotional cues. As you interact with others, you also automatically take note of the tone of their voice, facial expressions, body language, and other forms of non-verbal signal. Upon observing these cues, you can also make sense out of them and figure out the meanings behind almost every expression and gesture you have noticed. You listen well to what the other person is saying. Listening does not only entail hearing every word said, it also requires a keen interest to understand what is being said and an initiative to check if you got their message right. Without these elements, you are merely letting the words pass through one ear to the other. You exhibit sensitivity towards others because emotionally intelligent people can see things from the perspective of others. They are more careful about their words and actions in case they inadvertently offend or hurt somebody. They are also respectful of others despite any differences between their opinions. You extend a helping hand to those in need. Based on what you have picked up and what you understand about others, you are able to offer help in an appropriate manner. Your offer is also not empty words that lack the element of action. When you say you will help, others can rely on the integrity of your word. Emotional intelligence and sincerity, one can pretend to understand others, particularly their concerns. Sometimes, this is one of the job requirements, such as those in the field of sales and customer service. They pretend to know exactly what the client is feeling, so that they can establish and build rapport. However, humans are inherently capable of detecting lies, even ones that seem to be relatively harmless. There are various ways to tell if one is being insincere. More often than not, it is the non-verbal cues that tend to give away one's attempts to cover up the truth. In some cases, responding to unexpected questions could also reveal one's intention to hide away certain things from others. Even if a person were not entirely aware of what is happening before him or her, a sense of discomfort would begin to grow, thereby drawing suspicion on the insincere part. This means that faking your way into seeming like an emotionally intelligent individual can be counterproductive to your goals. Learn how you can gain and develop genuine interest on others instead, so that you would be able to better connect with the people around you. Emotional intelligence and social skills, your ability to understand the feelings of other people, and in turn, your ability to manage your behaviors and emotions towards them, reflect your emotional intelligence. Unless you have been living as a hermit, you care about the thoughts and feelings of those around to a certain extent. Since almost everyone interacts with others on a regular basis, improving one's emotional intelligence can help a person achieve the following feats of effective social skills. Maintain healthy and satisfying relationships, find others who share similar interests, Encourage others to regard you in a positive manner. Ask for a favor from others without forcing them to accommodate your needs. Convince another person to accept your idea or proposal. Calm down a person who feels irate over significant or trivial matters. Be of help to those in need. The last item on the list is particularly important since emotional intelligence is not just about the things that would benefit you. Learning how to pay attention to the needs and feelings of other people can have a significant impact on your growth as an emotionally intelligent person, seeing things from others' perspective. And from there, figuring out how to react in an appropriate manner are signs of a person who is in touch with his own emotions. Chapter 4. Controlling your gift. I believe empathy is the most essential quality of civilization. Be your own first priority. If you are completely drained, you will not be able to deal with the struggles of daily life or handle normal interactions with people. Even a person who's not an empath will struggle to control their emotions when they are exhausted and depleted. This is much worse for empaths, as they are dealing with their own emotions as well as the emotions of the people and energy around them. Putting yourself first is not a selfish act. This is difficult for empaths to accept, but when they put this into practice, they will realize its importance. Build fences, not walls. Empaths tend to isolate themselves to prevent being overwhelmed by the emotions and energies of others. Don't do this. By all means, take time alone to decompress when you need to. But there is no reason that you can't have a healthy, active social life and be successful at work. You can and should support the people in your life. However, it is important that you do not give them all your energy. You will be a better friend and a family member and lead a more meaningful life if you are not depleted. To accomplish this, you need to develop boundaries. If you have a coworker who is draining for you to be around, you can still work with them, but you do not need to socialize outside of the workplace. If they invite you to lunch, politely decline. Use the excuse that you have to work for lunch. Next time, tell them that you brought lunch or you are on a special diet. They will eventually get the hint. Keep your interactions with coworkers you find draining limited to what is necessary for your job. On days that you know you'll need to spend a lot of time with them for professional reasons, take some extra time for yourself in the morning to practice self-care. Make sure you take the time that evening to decompress. If you feel your life would be better without a certain person in your life, you should cut them out of your life. For example, you may have a friend from your childhood that always needs something from you and always has problems they want you to solve, but is never there for you in return. Someone like this can be extremely draining for anyone to maintain a friendship with, but is even more difficult for an empath. Empaths have a harder time saying no. It is harder to cut a conversation short. But if someone is bringing toxicity into your life, don't feel that you have to keep them in it just because you have a shared history. If this feels too selfish, try to reframe how you think about it. You will have a lot of time and energy to help other people. If this toxic person is no longer in your life, your friend will be better off if they have a friend without empathic abilities who is not so drained being around them. They can find another toxic person, and they can be toxic together. For people, such as family members that you cannot cut out of your life, you should set clearly defined boundaries. For example, you may have a sister who you love dearly, but who is so needy that you always feel very drained after interacting with her. In this example, you could set boundaries such as limiting the time you spend with the person or on the phone. Your boundaries may be that you end your daily phone call after 10 minutes and schedule a 2-hour brunch every other week. Your boundaries should be based on your relationship with the person and how much interacting with them drains you. At a certain time each evening, turn off your phone or at least silence the ringer. Let your friends and family know that after this time of night you are unavailable, except in emergencies. Don't be afraid to tell them that you consider an emergency a health crisis or similar. Your younger sister's 15th breakup with the same man she keeps going back to is not an emergency under this paradigm. You can talk to her about this the next day during your 10-minute phone call. You can support the people in your life and be there for them without being at the beck and call. Many empaths find that touch intensifies the emotions they are experiencing through others and increases energy absorption. When you are in a crowd, you can try to navigate the edges so you aren't bumping into as many people. You can give shorter hugs when you greet friends. You don't want to close yourself off completely to touch. But some people are just not as physically affectionate as others. Being one of them is fine. If you are meeting a lot of new people and want to avoid shaking hands, mention you feel like you have a cold coming on. People will appreciate the warning and keep their hands to themselves. Once you learn to shield yourself, you will not have to worry about making these excuses. If you are in a social situation and are feeling intense vibes from someone that are making you uncomfortable or upset, you can move away. Do this kindly and unobtrusively. No one will think your behavior is odd or antisocial if you politely excuse yourself to refill a beverage, get some food, or use the restroom. If you are in a waiting room, you can always move seats. Grab your things, make a phone call outside, or ask the receptionist a question. When you return, simply sit elsewhere. Most people self-absorbed enough to not even notice. Practice separation. Empaths feel the emotions of others as strongly as they do their own. But it is important to remember that these emotions you are feeling through others aren't yours. They don't reflect what you are experiencing in your life. If your best friend is going through a divorce, the anger and sadness you are feeling through them is not your anger and sadness. Be there for your friend. Do your best to help and support them, but do not let their situation subsume you. To practice separation, you first need to acknowledge the emotions you are feeling. Then you mentally compartmentalize them as belonging to your friend and release them. Allow yourself to decompress and clear your mind after interacting with this friend. Understand your own emotions. Once you have separated the emotions you are experiencing through other people, it's time to concentrate on your own emotions. We'll continue with the example of an empath who has a friend going through a divorce. When you have released the anger and sadness you are feeling through them, think about your relationship. Do you have a significant other? How do you feel about the relationship? Does your partner make you happy and enhance your life? If you are single, are you content with this, or do you want a relationship? What do you need and want in a partner? What do you expect to get out of being in a relationship? Discover how you are feeling in your own life. Acknowledge and understand your emotions. Determine the source of these emotions. If you are sad, figure out why. Sometimes the source will be obvious. Other times you will have to delve deep. When you are more aware of your life and emotions, it will make it easier for you to separate your emotions from the emotions you feel through other people. Journaling can be a great way to examine your emotions, as well as practicing separation. Are you happy? What can make you happier? Are you depressed? Why? What can you do to make it better? You give so much support to the people in your life. Don't be afraid to ask them for support if you need it. You may decide you would benefit from therapy to further explore your emotions. Release responsibility. Empaths often feel they carry the weight of the world. They burden themselves with the suffering and problems of others. Empaths feel extreme guilt for not being able to fix other people's problems. You are not responsible for other people's problems. It's not your fault your best friend is struggling through a divorce. You cannot fix it. You would be overstepping your bounds to attempt to do so. You must let those around you live their own life and make their own decisions. This includes letting them make their own mistakes. You can actually do people a disservice by not allowing them to fend for themselves. They need to learn to rely on themselves and their own strength, not just yours. Concentrate on your own life and your own path. If it is hard for you to change your mindset from fixing people to supporting them, consider that by controlling your empath abilities, you are allowing the people in your life to have privacy. You wouldn't want someone to read your every emotion. You can consider shielding a form of respect. If you receive information through intuition that you feel it's imperative to share, be respectful of how the other person receives your information. You may get a bad feeling around your friend's significant other. If you choose to share this with your friend, be prepared that they won't want to hear it, and they may be angry with you for telling them. You can tell them why you feel this way, but don't tell them what to do. Celebrate. There is a lot of pain and sadness in the world. This can weigh particularly heavily on empaths, who experience so much emotional pain that is not their own. Don't wait for holidays to celebrate the good things, whether large or small. Take the time to celebrate and bring joy into your life and the lives of those around you. If you got a promotion at work, treat yourself to a nice dinner. If you accomplished a workout goal, buy yourself a new training outfit. Is your 40th birthday coming up? Throw yourself a birthday bash. No over-the-hill paraphernalia allowed. Good vibes only. Host a dinner party, just because you have a new recipe you want to try. Chapter 5. Raising an empath. Most empaths have a hard time getting hold of their emotions. Can you imagine how much more challenging it is for a child? If you're an empath yourself, then you'll feel that your child is an empath. Most parents are not. So at first, they will simply notice that their child is different. Here are some traits of child empaths. 1. Overwhelmed in crowds while other children are happy to interact with others and jump around in crowds. Empath kids will be fussy at best, yet you can't blame them. All their senses are alert. They can hear every sound and smell every scent. Above all, they feel the emotions of those around them. They have a combination of feelings inside them: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and whatever else those around them are feeling. This is overwhelming for anyone, much less a child. The children will be uncomfortable and probably ask to leave. If you've not understood their personality, you'll be wondering why they can't enjoy the gathering like everybody else. If you cannot leave, then let them take breaks. You can have them sit in the car or in an isolated corner for some minutes. This helps relax their minds and emotions. With time, you should be in a position to identify the triggers and avoid or at least minimize them. 2. Cry when others are in pain. As soon as others are in distress, they will be in tears. This includes animals. They will offer to soothe those who are crying and end up crying as well. These kids can't stand to see others being bullied. They will cry along and try to beg the aggressors to stop. You know how it goes in these bullying cases. The kid supporting the one being bullied also ends up in the same boat. If your child comes home complaining of bullies, seek to find out the details. Perhaps your kid is being targeted for standing up for others. If you notice such a trend, chances are you're raising an empath. Such kids should be encouraged. Those are the activists of the future. Assure them that they're brave to be standing up for others. They will only be picked on for some time, but once they prove their resilience, no one will dare bully others in their presence. 3. Deep feelings. Children have shallow feelings. If you upset them, they'll only be sad for a couple of minutes before something distracts their attention. That's why sometimes a child will get spanked, then offered candy. The sadness evaporates in a minute. If your child seems to have intense feelings, especially the negative ones, you could be dealing with an empath. You may have spotted a video clip that was doing rounds online of parents pranking their kids. But there was this one kid that fell into a fit of rage. He shouted and cursed even as the dad explained that it was supposed to be a funny joke. That is definitely not normal for a child. A child will hardly ever be upset for hours. If you are dealing with such a case, chances are you are raising an empath. As a parent, help them acknowledge their feelings and walk through them. 4. Readers and deep thinkers. Young empaths often have their faces buried in a book. They're seeking for information. They mostly read books that are beyond their age. They're interested in the real world, as opposed to fairy tale stories. They think deeply about issues. They ask a lot of questions, the kind you would not expect a kid to ask. They question things that other people may not, like religion. Who created the world? God. Who created God? He was always there. Everybody has to have come from something. And how could one person create so much? The questions may irritate you, yet they will not relent. If you can't answer them, direct them to someone who can. If you always react with irritation, they will feel guilty and end up suppressing their curiosity. This curiosity ought to be fanned, not deflated. Such children could be grand researchers in the future, and who knows what they might come up with. 5. Sensitive to media, empathic children get extremely upset at certain scenes in the animations or movies that they're watching. There is not a 2-minute frowning, but a complete change of mood that may even be accompanied by crying. They stay upset for a long time. The scene is likely to be one of a person or animal getting assaulted in a way. The kids feel deeply for the victim. Never mind, it could be a work of fiction. Since they cannot do anything to help, they release their emotions the best way they know how, by crying or sulking. Other kids might laugh at the empaths. To them it's all fun and jokes, and they don't see why anyone should take it too seriously. If you notice that your child is highly sensitive to the media, monitor what they watch. Let them avoid content with strong scenes. Let them know that there is nothing wrong with what they feel, and their emotions are valid. 6. They love the outdoors. These lots love to get their hands dirty. They want to be out there exploring the outdoors. Since they feel with all their senses, they see so much where others don't. Your simple backyard feels like a nature trail to them. They will play fetch with the dogs, build tree houses, dig around for worms, and plant a garden, and pretty much anything else that crosses their mind. They will observe, feel, smell, touch, and basically have a blast out there. To you as a parent, you see them getting dirty, but they feel refreshed in those activities. The best you can do is let them explore safely. But the books that teach them more about nature, referring to the point about their sensitivity to the media, the outdoors become a great alternative. 7. Often stay alone. Children normally reach out to others to play. Empathic children want to spend a lot of time alone. They will be in their room reading, exploring something, or just having a quiet time. If they have to share a room with a sibling, they will make an effort to carve out their own private space by forming an enclosure with a bedsheet or something similar. If you have playhouses, they will crawl in there and stay for hours. And no, they're not upset. In fact, they leave their little private spaces feeling better than before. Do not force them out of their quiet sessions. Let them stay until they are ready to come out. Do not force them to play with the others either. If they seem reluctant, leave them alone. Given their deep thinking, child empaths often feel like they do not belong with their age mates. Their activities and conversation do not spark their interest. They may prefer to hang out with older kids or even adults. 8. Animal lovers. This trait begins very young. You will notice an intimate attachment even with stuffed plastic animals. They will carry them everywhere and even attempt to feed and bath them. Should they break or tear, they will be beside themselves with sadness. They will put a bandage on the wound. When they come of age and you buy them a pet, the bond will be even deeper. They will spend the most time with the pet, showing reduced interest in people. Their caregiving properties will begin to manifest. They will attend to every need of the pet. Should the pet get sick or injured, get ready to drop everything and run to the vet. The child will be so affected to the extent of interfering with schoolwork. As they grow older, child empaths show interest in animals on a larger scale. They could want to know what goes on in animal shelters. They could start talking about adopting an abandoned animal. They also gain interest in wildlife and love to watch National Geographic and other such programs. 9. Artistic. They gravitate towards one form or another of art. It could be painting, drawing, playing an instrument, singing, and so on. They see things in multiple dimensions. When they look at a drawing, they see aspects that a normal child may not. As a parent, whether you share in this ability or not, you should encourage it. Buy them materials to practice the craft that they're interested in. Once in a while, you can sit with them and have them explain the motions behind their pieces. You may not get it, but that is fine. You can also enroll them for classes to perfect their art. Art offers a noble outlet for their emotions. When they are feeling overwhelmed, they can turn to art to express themselves. In their drawings and paintings and sculptures will be an outpouring of emotions, and that is what makes them so unique. 10. They feel your energy. This is probably the most unnerving bit of raising an empath. These children mirror their emotions. If you're sad, so are they. If you're going through a rough patch where you're experiencing mostly negative emotions, you can imagine the suffering the poor kids are going through. If there's strife in your family, such as a strained marriage, the children can feel it. You will try to act all fine in their presence, but they can feel every single emotion going through your body. This makes them very sensitive. Children should be protected from adult challenges. If you are having a spat, you can send them to a relative for a few days. Do not let children suffer over an issue which they can do nothing about. Their ability to feel also means that you cannot lie to your children. In most cases, this happens the other way around. It is children who cannot lie to their parents, as they can see right through them. Here the roles are reversed. You cannot lie to your child that all is well between you and the other parent. They can feel the strain. You cannot claim to be okay when you are sick, as parents often do to keep their children from worrying too much. They can feel your emotions, and in some cases, they can feel your symptoms in their own bodies. The solution here is to tell them the truth. Tone it down to a language that they can understand. If you keep insisting on bending the truth, yet their intuition is telling them otherwise, they will have a problem trusting you even in the future. Raising an empath is no mean feat. It takes a while to understand what is happening to your child. You could even end up thinking that something is wrong with him, her, especially due to the time spent alone, instead of playing with the others. The first step is to familiarize yourself on what being an empath is all about. Now that you are already reading this book, you are definitely on the right track on getting the relevant information. That your child feels your energy means that you have to hold yourself to high standards. If you are plagued by sadness, anxiety, fear, and so on, your child will experience the same. These emotions are tough to handle even for an adult. Imagine how much more a child will struggle to try to manage them. If you are going through a tough period in your life, for the sake of your empathic child, get help. Unfortunately, you do not have the privilege of handling your issues quietly. The moment you feel it, it is out there. After working on yourself, concentrate on helping the child understand the unique personality. Many empaths will tell you how confusing it was as a child to be highly sensitive, yet not understand why they were feeling the way they were. Now that you are enlightened, your child should have better luck. If children do not get this information in good time, they think that something is wrong with them. They suppress those emotions and numb their intuition in an effort to be normal. They suppress the urge to stand up for others, fearing their peers will tease them. With time, the gift goes to waste. Let those around your child know that they are dealing with an empath. Start with the siblings. It can be challenging to have one child who is an empath and another who is not. They will be wondering why they are so different and why they are not interested in the same things. Teach them about personalities as soon as they are in a position to understand. Empaths are the minority in society. And if you have one in your hands, then you are one of the chosen few. Help that young empath to nurture that gift. Accept it and utilize it to the highest levels. The world could always do with a little more empathy. It is one entity that we will never have enough of in the face of so many challenges that plague us. Empower your young empath and let that light shine and light up the world. Chapter 6. Assertiveness. Empaths often have a hard time asserting themselves. It can feel uncomfortable to say no or stand by your boundaries, especially if you feel like someone else is desperate or in need of help. We are often people who struggle to realize that we cannot help everyone, and that we need to be okay with that. It can hurt us deeply to feel someone else suffering and not be able to do anything about it. Having the ability to be assertive gives you the best chance to protect yourself from unwanted situations and preserve your own energy and well-being. You have likely been in a situation in the past where you put down your boundaries to serve someone else because you felt they needed you more than you needed the boundary. You may even have a problem with doing this often. Many times, empaths find themselves in situations where they are doing an alarming number of things that they don't like, simply because they feel obligated to, in order to make others happy. Empaths are people pleasers due to their ability to read others' energies, and it can have a seriously negative effect on the empath themselves. Learning to assert yourself is an important tool that you need to get on top of immediately. The faster you learn to assert yourself, the easier it will be to honor your own boundaries and do only what feels good to you. You should not lead a life based on what other people need from you. Doing this will only make you drained and empty out your own energy reserves. Eventually, you will reach burnout and you will not be able to help anyone, yourself or otherwise. There are many things you can do to practice being assertive. It is important to find ways that work for you and use them frequently. Learning this is important for your own health, and it is not something you can or should put off. You need to get on top of this immediately. Become clear in your boundaries. Many people struggle to assert their boundaries because they are unclear on what their boundaries actually are. If this is true for you, you need to start working on discovering what your boundaries are. Exactly. You should sit down and think about things that make you unhappy or feel as though you are being taken advantage of. Then you should create your boundaries around these. Once you are clear in your boundaries, you will know exactly what it is that you are asserting to other people. Learn to say no. Saying no is hard, especially for empaths. You need to learn exactly how to say no and how to be strong in your no. When you say no, it needs to mean something to people. If they persist and try to push against your no or make you change your mind, you need to keep strong and stand it. If necessary, excuse yourself from the situation to eliminate yourself from being affected by someone who is unable to accept your no. Remember, it is not personal. When they can't take a no, they are likely desperate for your help. But you need to feel confident that you are not the person to help them if it is a situation that makes you uncomfortable. Someone out there will be comfortable with helping them, and they will be able to find that person. Have faith in that and stay firm in your boundaries. Clearly outline your boundaries. If someone starts crossing boundaries, you should be clear that they have done so. Telling people what your boundaries are gives them a chance to understand them and respect them. If they don't know, they can't respect them. Some people push by nature, but if you were to point out that they are pushing, they would stop. You need to make sure that you are always asserting your boundaries and that people know what they are. If they don't stop pushing your boundaries, you should be clear about what will happen as a result. For example, maybe you won't help them anymore, or you no longer want to be their friend. Avoid those who continually cross boundaries. Some people will constantly cross boundaries. The energy vampires, to be exact, will constantly cross boundaries. The more you avoid these people, the less likely you will be put in a situation where you know they will push boundaries. If you are in a situation with them, you should prepare yourself and get an idea of what you will do when they start inevitably pushing against your boundaries. Being assertive can be hard, particularly for those who are gifted empaths. Since you can feel the energy of others, you can often feel the desperation or need for help. As a result, you may put down your own boundaries for the benefit of others. Only this doesn't benefit you in any way. In fact, it doesn't even benefit the other person. People need to have boundaries, and other people need to learn to respect them. If you don't assert your boundaries, you will end up having resentment, and you may lose good friendships simply because you couldn't speak up. In many cases, when you assert your boundaries, people respect them. If they don't deserve to be a part of your life. Simple as that. If they are a part of your life and they continue to cross boundaries, you need to limit your time with them and practice asserting yourself tirelessly so that they eventually learn to back down. If you give in once, they will expect you to give in forever, and they will push until you inevitably give in. Chapter 7. Long-term protection and healing. Empaths are affected by everyone and everything around them, and that is a fact. It is sad, though, that filtering the good energies from the bad is not an easy thing to do. Trained empaths have been through a lot before they were able to understand and learn how to focus on good vibes. They have suffered through severe physical, mental, and emotional damages, but in the end, they gained enough knowledge to save them from further damage. They have been healed, and therefore they are enjoying their experiences as empaths. Being an empath allows you to be open to other people's feelings and energies, and this means that you can also feel what they are going through. It is like you are a sponge and you just cannot help but absorb. If the people you are receiving energy from are suffering from physical illness, then you are more than likely to feel symptoms of that illness too. It is similar if you are interacting with people that are suffering from emotional conditions. You will eventually feel the emotional turmoil. If you want to succeed as being an empath so that you can continue helping other people, the best thing that you can do is to heal yourself. Do not wait until you are physically sick or emotionally drained. You need to act soon. Prevention is always better than cure, remember? Talking things out. Learning empaths need to know how to talk things out. Talking things through allows an empath to gain better understanding of his own gift and energy, as well as of another person's energy. By being able to talk things out, an empath will be able to know that he has in fact taken on the energy, rather than it naturally belonging to him. This process will provide an empath peace, even in the most emotional or energy-charged situations. This is the most recommended help-healing technique for empaths, who bottle up their emotions and build walls around themselves in order to avoid the onslaught of unwanted emotions and energies. Withholding emotions or trying to keep them stored away in the subconscious is not good for an empath. The more you absorb emotions from other people, the more you need to be able to deal with your own emotions. If you deny yourself the chance to talk about how you are feeling, or about how the absorbed emotion is making you feel, you are going to suffer. Unreleased emotions will find their way to freedom, and that could result in explosive outcomes that could have a crippling effect on you. It is important for you to find someone who understands what you are and what you are going through. That person can be family, a friend, a fellow empath, or a professional therapist. The important thing when talking things out with another person is that you feel comfortable in talking and the other person feels all right with listening. Unease is a sign that you should not talk, because that feeling is negative and you want to cast aside all negative feelings and thoughts because you want to be healed. When you talk about what's happening to you, you are opening yourself up for healing because you are allowing other people to know and understand you and your gift. Eventually, you will realize that the more you talk, the more you are gaining understanding of your own predicament. Hopefully, this will lead to gaining knowledge on how to successfully heal yourself. It is basically all about understanding and knowledge. The more you have, the more you can effectively structure your life to incorporate what you need as an empath, and your ability to deal with and live in this world that is filled with different types of energy and emotions. Once you have made talking things out, negative thoughts are disastrous to everyone. For you, as an empath, these thoughts can be the trigger that would eventually cripple you. Thoughts, when not properly managed, can be destructive and hazardous to your physical health and well-being, particularly thoughts that are repetitive. Most empaths tend to make the mistake of spending too much time in their own heads. This could be a good practice if the thoughts are enlightening, happy, creative, productive, and helpful. The problem is that some people tend to be drawn to painful memories. Memories that usually provoke anger, sadness, depression, and anxiety. You have to keep in mind that you are not just dealing with your own emotions, you are also open to emotions being transmitted all around you. It may seem to be difficult to get the negative and irrational thoughts out of your head, but you need to try and then try again. When you feel like giving up, just tell yourself to keep on trying. The more you try, the more you get used to the idea that you do not need those negative thoughts in your head and around you. The first step to getting rid of negative thoughts is to identify how you absorb them. This means recognizing what ignites them and who is transferring them to you. Once you have established who or what situation gives you the negative thoughts, you will know who and what to avoid getting in contact with. The next step is to develop internalizing techniques so that you can avoid absorbing anything negative at will. As you gain more experience in this process, your mind will eventually be able to automatically filter the thoughts that it needs from the ones that are irrational and unwanted. You can also try to practice mindfulness. It is a meditative technique that teaches you how to externalize your own awareness. This process requires you to concentrate on your awareness or your consciousness outside of your own self. You can do this technique anywhere, as long as you can focus on something that is outside of your consciousness. When you feel like negative thoughts are starting to creep up on you, this technique will be very helpful. Find a place where you can watch the surrounding in peace. Or pick an object that could be the focal point of your focus. Distract the mind to prevent the negativity. That is the objective here. Engaging in physical activities gives you the chance to get the negative thoughts out of your head. Thought distraction activities are your best weapon against a negative overdrive attack. By keeping your body busy with an activity, you are effectively distracting your mind from processing irrational thoughts. The more you perform this technique, the more your mind will be responsive. This is a simple way of preoccupying your mind by making your body perform strenuous and creative activities. If you do not like exercising, productive physical tasks are good substitutes. House cleaning, gardening, lawn mowing, or cooking are just some recommended activities. Anything or any feeling that causes you discomfort is not good for you. It is not helping your gift, rather, it is encouraging your mind to engage in dark, negative, and repetitive thoughts. Act now and get rid of such negativities from your mind so that you can fulfill your empath duties with a healthy body and capable mind. Chapter 8. Understanding self-worth: ways to identify your gifts. You will always find people telling you that every single person on this planet has a unique set of skills and abilities. Everyone is special. From childhood tales to history books, and even the web series and films of the modern era speak about life's purpose, and that everyone is meant to do something specific. But do you know what your purpose is? With time, you will find that you are more attracted to certain activities. You will also find that there are some things which you prefer more than others, and you resonate with their energy. This is how you will be able to identify your special gifts. Everyone has qualities which have some role to play in society as a whole. Some people love painting while others love writing. Whatever it is that you love to do, it makes you whole as a person, and it adds flavor to your overall character. And when this realization dawns upon you, you will realize that you do matter as a person. The main struggle that everyone faces with self-worth and finding their abilities is that they fail to recognize the importance of their qualities. It might seem simple now, but it is often complicated to realize that you might be meant to do something in life which you have a natural flair for. Your sense of self-worth is most affected by your limiting beliefs. You might never have considered yourself to be good at doing something in life, because all your friends and siblings have been outshining you since childhood. In such scenarios, society forces the person to ignore their strengths and focus more on their weaknesses. Your negative view of your self-image might be blinding you from seeing your strengths, but that does not mean that you do not have strengths. You have them, but the only thing you have to do is find them. You need to dig what is present beneath the surface to understand your self-worth. And this chapter will tell you about the ways in which you can do so and identify your unique abilities. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is considered to be a very effective tool when it comes to understanding your self-worth. It is very normal for people to suffer from low self-esteem, and it is even more common in empaths. No matter how hard they try, they often find themselves in a situation where they are not satisfied with what they are doing. They often find their actions to be inadequate. They spend countless hours thinking that the problem is with them and they need to be fixed. But this is just a case of low self-esteem. Constructive criticism is only good when it is healthy. As an empath, you will be constantly evaluating everything that is present in your surroundings. And during this, you will also have several negative thoughts which will make you feel low. But you will not be able to do anything about it until and unless you realize that you need to do something about it. At the end of the day, you need to understand that your thoughts are nothing more than just thoughts. But a dose of negative self-talk on a daily basis will shatter your sense of self-worth. That is where mindfulness comes in. Being mindful means that you are carefully assessing every thought and moment in your life. You will let your thoughts come into your mind, but you will remind yourself not to get affected by them. Whenever you find yourself engaged in self-criticism, you need to keep reminding yourself that these are your thoughts, and they have nothing to do with the facts. Don't stick to limiting stories. Whatever your present state of mind is, it completely relies on your thoughts. But have you wondered whether you are telling yourself a limiting story? Because if you are, then it is going to lower your abilities, and along with that, your self-esteem as well. Thus, in simpler terms, an individual's perception of reality is based on all the stories they tend to tell themselves. What you need to keep in mind is that these stories are not real. Although the individual believes them to be, the way you respond to your life and your attitude towards every situation is determined by these stories. So, your first step will be to identify whether you are telling yourself any limiting story or not. If you are, then you have to come up with an empowering one that will replace the limiting story from your mind. If you want your new story to stick with you, then you will have to empower it with emotions. These emotions have to be positive. One of the best ways to do this is visualizing all the positive things, and this will make you look forward to it. Once you change the story in your mind, you will see new opportunities coming your way. It is not that they were not present before, but the only difference is that you did not have the courage to try new things. But now you will be seeing everything from a new and positive perspective. You also need to have patience, because changes don't happen in a day. And if you don't see changes as fast as you wanted them to, don't beat yourself up for that. Stop comparing yourself to others. In this world, you will always find people who do things better than you. So what is the use of comparing yourself to others? It will only make you feel less qualified, whereas that is not the truth. The only question that you need to ask yourself is whether you are improving or not. Although this is not as easy as it sounds, you should keep trying. The situation becomes worse because of the numerous advertisements shown on the television and the web that are designed to prey on the insecurities of the people. This keeps happening all the time with empaths, especially those empaths who consider them to be an outsider in every setting. When they scroll through social media platforms, they feel even more depressed because they start thinking that others are living a better and happier life. But you should not fall for that illusion. Everything you see on social media is not so bright and happy. Everyone has their own problems, The only difference is that they do not show that on social media. The first step to stop this comparison habit is to acknowledge whether you are jealous of someone or not. If you are, then you need to find what thoughts lay beneath that facade of jealousy. For example, if you saw your friend's posts on Instagram where she posed in front of the Eiffel Tower, you should start budgeting of your own so that you can also visit Paris. You need to stop comparing yourself to others because it will only hold you back. If you want growth in your life, then you need to compare yourself with what you were a couple of years back. Have you improved? Yes, then that is what matters and nothing else. Recognize your inner strengths. Every successful venture is standing tall on its foundation. If the foundation is ragged and not strong, the venture will eventually collapse. So you need to understand what your inner strengths are. If you start building your world on the wrong qualities, then you are bound to feel frustrated after a certain point of time because you do not love what you do. In order to truly love what you do, you need to figure out what you are good at. Take a table for an example. The tabletop stands on the 4 legs, and that tabletop is your confidence, and legs are your inner strengths. Identify them and focus on them. In order to make your tabletop solid, you need to first make these legs strong. Another important thing that you should do is keep all your shortcomings aside and stop focusing on them. Shift all your focus on your strengths. Do not listen to the world. They might force you to look at your shortcomings, but you shouldn't. Don't loathe yourself. But loathing yourself is the basis of self-hate. And self-hate will only bring your sense of self-worth down. Anger and frustration are the 2 things that fuel self-hate. Build a conscious voice in your head that will remind you of your positive mantra in life, the moment any negative thought creeps in. The inability to forgive yourself is also one of the reasons why empaths get stuck in the cycle of self-hate. You must remember that no one is completely bad or good. Everyone has their own faults. If you think you have done something wrong, it doesn't automatically make you a bad person, just like you don't become a saint with a good deed. Your self-belief should be based on your own thoughts and not what others pass to you. An outdated and negative self-belief is often because peers and parents tend to push you the thought that you are not enough. You have to remember that it is your life, and you can think in whichever way you want. So, challenge your negative beliefs about yourself and direct all your energy in constructing positive thoughts. Combat your constant need to be perfect, as weird as it may sound. But it is true that low self-esteem and perfectionism are correlated and often go hand in hand. Perfectionists have this tendency of indulging in constant judgment of their own actions and concentrating fully on what they couldn't achieve rather than what they did achieve. They tend to fret over the small mistakes that probably no one else would even notice, and fail to see the beauty of what they created. Or they also might be focusing on the fact that they were not able to complete a few tasks, whereas they have already made considerable progress in the bigger picture. Perfectionists often set too high expectations which are hard to meet, and this ultimately leads to a feeling of inadequacy in them. They also show high levels of procrastination when it comes to making a decision. A decision that might seem small to others does not seem small to a perfectionist. She ponders over it for days because they fear that they would end up making the wrong choice. That is why being a perfectionist will hold you back from a lot of things in life. Feelings of shame are what drive this additive belief system of perfectionists, which is self-destructive too. Perfection is something you cannot achieve, but what you can achieve is growth. But people often tend to forget that. They feel worse with each expectation they fail to meet, and this lowers their self-esteem more. Consequently, they try harder to meet those unrealistic expectations. And this way, the vicious cycle of low self-esteem and perfectionism goes on and on. Prepare a daily exercise regime. There is a direct relationship between having a daily exercise regime and improved mental health, along with a higher sense of self-worth. Exercise is the manifestation of self-care. Moreover, with a daily exercise regime, you will feel fit and physically able, which will automatically boost your confidence. Exercise also promotes the release of a special group of hormones known as endorphins. These hormones are called the feel-good hormones of the body, and they will automatically make you feel happy. Stop comparing your body with others. Body shaming is definitely a growing concern today, but don't let others' comments affect your self-image. The more you compare, the more insecure you will get. Everyone has their own strengths in life, and everyone is beautiful in their own way. Empaths who feel that they have a poor body image suffer even more. If you are facing something similar and feeling that there is no use doing anything just because you have a poor body image, then you are wrong. Start by doing 3 things every day that will make you look good, and you will automatically notice the difference it can make to your emotional health. Eliminate self-doubt. Self-doubt is silent, but it will shun your potential by occupying your mind. It will work like an inner dialogue that will keep reminding you about your shortcomings. And empaths are often seen surrendering to this paralyzing image of self-doubt. Self-doubt will act as your inner critic and will try in various ways to undermine your success. Every human who suffers from self-doubt will have the habit of fabricating stories about them that are not even true. When left unchecked, self-doubt can create havoc in your personal and professional life. The first step to stop this is to not bury your emotions and share them with everyone else. Whenever you leave a thought or feeling unaddressed, it will keep on adding itself to the pile of emotions in your mind. All these emotions will give rise to several doubts. You need to stop the discouraging sentences in your mind, because they can spiral out of control very easily. Don't let self-doubt take over you. Make your own mantra and keep repeating it whenever you find negative thoughts arising. Stop taking criticisms personally. Since empaths are too sensitive to everything in this world, they usually cannot handle taking any type of criticism. But you need to learn how you can desensitize your problem whenever, at last, criticism is hurled at you. The first step to doing that is to truly listen to what the other person is saying. Don't listen with the intent of giving an equally bashing reply. Listen with the intent of understanding. Then think whether you perceive the comment in the right way. Stand up for yourself only when you think that the criticism was not right or was unfair. But even if you did not like the criticism personally, you need to embrace it. This is because getting feedback is valuable for your growth and development. Feedbacks will not always be positive. Otherwise, they would lose their meaning. They can be negative and something which you didn't really expect. But you need to assess the situation and learn from it instead of taking all of it personally. Moreover, you need to learn how you can handle constructive criticism. Keep a note of the comments made and brainstorm new ideas to change things for the better. Don't keep repeating the same hurtful comments in your mind over and over again. There is no use in beating yourself up, and you need to move on. So these were some of the steps which you should follow if you want to enhance your sense of self-worth. If you follow these steps, then you will be able to identify the things you are good at and then use them for your progress. Chapter 9. Having empathy versus being empath. There is a big difference between having empathy and being an empath. To be an empath refers to the passion to reach out to other people, get into their shoes and stay there for a considerable stretch of time. It is more like taking their place and feeling their emotions firsthand. As an empath, you will always get into other people's emotions, and your body or spirit can feel what they are going through. You just naturally find yourself feeling one with people around you without any external prompt. On the other hand, when you are empathetic, that feeling passes away quickly, and you have to have external prompting. For example, someone has to tell you their story for you to understand what they are going through and experience their pain. When you are an empath, you feel this pain even without being told about it. It just comes naturally. Note, however, that feeling empathy and being an empath have a big overlap. because they have very similar characteristics. But given the same subject, the burden of the emotional connection is almost always heavier on the empath. As an empath, you will possess great compassion towards others, which comes involuntarily. And at times this feeling will totally exhaust you as well. But as once you accept that you have this unique ability and learn to control it, you will always be able to create boundaries to secure your sensitivities. Let us explore more as to why an empath is different from a person who has empathy. Empathy versus empath. Some people are empathetic and empaths at the same time, while others are empathetic, but they are not empaths. There are also those that fall in between the two categories. Let us look at the major areas where this distinction is more significant. Difference in feelings. Empathy is not a rare trait to have. In fact, many people possess it. They can connect, understand, respond to and identify with other people's feelings at a very high personal level. For instance, they can see unusual mood in their colleagues or notice changes in their partner's state. That way, they intuitively know something is wrong. If people open up with their vulnerabilities, empathetic people can deeply feel themselves in their shoes and understand their frustrations. On the other hand, being an empath goes beyond being empathetic. This is because an empath has the potential to feel the distress, happiness, pain, feelings and thoughts of others without direct verbal communication. They do not need any physical cues signals like seeing a sad face, a person being ill, etc., to have those feelings invoke in them. Empaths' intuition about people's intentions and likely behavior is almost always on point. Empaths are very good at natural diagnosis, because through their intuition alone, they are able to see or feel what other people are going through. It is also possible that a person can be an empath without being aware of it, mostly because most empaths suppress this unique gift from a young age. Differences. In terms of energy, there is also a subtle difference between empaths and highly sensitive people, HSP. The wiring of empaths is psychological and energetic, while for a highly sensitive person, it is psychological and biological. Consider a situation where you feel very responsible for the feelings of the people near you. If you are empathetic, you will just feel what other people feel, because empathy is a common virtue. If you are empathetic, however, you will feel one with the person's suffering at a much deeper energetic level that goes beyond the surface connection. You will also feel responsible for them inevitably because of involuntarily sharing this burden. By the time empaths are done, they will feel drained and have to go someplace away from people where they can be alone with nature and recharge. So every connection is deep for an empath. However, empathetic people are able to switch their energies and emotions frequently and at lower cost, relying on physical cue signals unlike empaths. Empathetic people require external signs to experience how other people are feeling, such as seeing someone's physical pain or getting a message to the same effect. On the other hand, an empath can just subconsciously feel the energy of other people to know what they are going through. This means empaths do not require physical signs or other cues to get those details. Empaths have intuitive gifts, which can heal the communities they're part of, if properly utilized. Alternatively, empathy is also a very good attribute because it connects people in the world together. Empathetic people and empaths can enjoy those great moments of connection while transforming, growing, and healing other people. Are empaths born or made? There are many differences between being empathetic and being an empath. That is why people struggle to know whether empaths are born or they acquire those capabilities as they grow up. According to research, empath ability emerges in kids during their second year after birth. At this age, children develop a sense of knowing themselves, i.e., self-awareness. These kids can be empaths, but they might not know how to control this power, or their parents may not know how to help them. At times, they might not know if they even possess such gifts. They realize their potential to feel the emotions of others when they become more mature. If you are able to feel and see people's emotions like yours, then you have an inborn capability. This ability comes naturally without trial and error. This justifies the fact that empaths are born and not made. They possess these skills since birth. It is just that they are not aware of them, especially if they come from families that do not value sensitivity, vulnerability, etc. In most cases, people confuse this gift with others, like having a well-aligned third eye chakra. Chakras are like wheels of life energy in our body. This life energy is called prana, and it defines how alive you are as a human and how well you're able to utilize your natural abilities. It so happens that one of the 7 chakras, called third eye chakra, is responsible for giving you intuitive powers and foresight. But you have to understand that this is not the same as the power an empath possesses. In Ayurveda, experienced practitioners can notice a child with empathetic characteristics from a small age. In that case, they can coach such kids to become great mentors and parents. They can tell these kids to embrace their gifts and learn to use them to help themselves and other people. This will ensure that the next generation of empaths is stable enough and also kind enough to take the society forward. Embracing the feelings of an empath can make them very happy. Empaths say that they feel relieved after finding someone who can relate to what they are going through in life. So, if you ever get a hint that your friend is an empath, make sure to give ample space, support, and empath from your side to make them feel comfortable around you. How empaths are misunderstood at times. The society, especially parents, confuse empath abilities with emotional or mental disorder. As a result, they take their kids to psychiatrists who, due to lack of understanding, prescribe drugs for them. Little do they know that the gifts their children have are not something to be shunned but managed appropriately. This is one of the biggest challenges that empaths around the world face, and because no one understands them, they may seek an escape, eventually becoming addicted to substances and drugs. Although born with empath ability, you can sharpen those skills, but be patient because it takes time. Learning about empath power will sharpen your skills, and you will be able to assist many people and step into their shoes more easily. Have you ever come across deeply insensitive people? If yes, that explains why some people are born empaths while others are not. If empaths were made, then everyone could potentially become one. But research shows that it's just not true. With training, you can increase your empathy, but what you experience as an empath is entirely different and cannot be learned or unlearned. Empaths get emotions, intuitions, and feelings naturally. This means they do not do trial and error when it comes to reading the emotions of other people. This is a natural gift. It cannot be acquired. In this section, we have sought to justify why empaths are born and not made. Whether they discover their gifts as adults or they became aware of them naturally at an early stage, the bottom line is that the gift has always been there since birth. Even though some people teach themselves how to read body language, vocal tone, or facial reading, they cannot teach themselves how to be empaths. They must be born empaths. Chapter 10. Personal and Emotional Healing. As an empath, it is also important that you learn personal and emotional healing. Indeed, absorbing too much negative energy from other people can be bad for you, especially in the long run. As such, you need to heal yourself from time to time. No matter how hard you try to protect yourself from negativity, there is simply no way that you can completely shield yourself from harmful and negative emotions and energies. This is why you need to cleanse yourself every now and then, especially after interacting with a negative person. Indeed, the following techniques should be in the arsenal of any real empath: self-cleansing. As the term implies, this refers to cleansing oneself of negative energy. It is good to use this technique after you have been exposed to negative energy, or at any time whenever you feel like you are carrying negative energy. The way to execute this technique is as follows. While you take a bath, visualize and feel that it is not just your physical body that you are washing, but that you also get to cleanse the uncleanliness of your soul. Visualize washing away negative energies that have attached themselves to you and see them going down the drain. It is good to use this technique when you are taking a shower. Another way to apply this technique is while you are washing your hands. As you wash your hands, visualize and feel the negative energy being washed away. You can visualize the negative energy as something black or dirty. Although this is just a trick of the mind imagination, this technique is very effective. After a long, one of the best ways to communicate to your subconscious is by using visualization. Another effective method of cleansing is by sprinkling salt water on your body. As you do, visualize all negative energy being washed away. It is also worth noting that doing physical exercises such as running can remove negative energies from your system naturally. This is also why exercising usually makes you feel good. It is also a proven way to lessen stress. This is because when you exercise, you get to remove negative energy from your system. Hence, this is another reason for you to hit the gym, or at least go for a brisk walk. Not to mention, this is also good for your physical health, grounding. Grounding is another effective way to cleanse yourself of negative energy. Another important feature of this technique, which, unfortunately, is left ignored, is having a good connection with Mother Earth. When you do grounding, you connect with the earth and cleanse yourself of all negative energy. The steps are as follows. Assume a sitting or lying position. The important thing is to keep your feet flat on the ground. It is recommended that you try this exercise with your bare feet touching the soil or grass. However, now visualize roots from your feet extending down deep into the earth. Do not force it, just allow it to extend comfortably. Allow it to stop naturally. Now feel your connection to Mother. Inhale slowly, and as you exhale, see and feel that you also exhale all the negative energy in your body. Exhale it through your roots. Visualize it as something black that flows down your roots and into the earth. Do not worry, the earth is very powerful, and all the negative energy that you send to the earth shall be neutralized. If you want, you can also breathe in positive energy. The way to do this is to visualize the green energy of the earth as you inhale. Allow it to flow through your roots and enter your body via the soles of your feet. As you do this exercise, feel and appreciate the wonderful connection that you have with Mother Earth. This technique is very effective when you want to cleanse yourself and release negative energy, as well as for charging yourself with the Earth's positive energy. Once you get good at using this technique, you can use it even in public. There are also other ways to ground. If you want, you can use your hands instead of your feet. Another easy way to ground is by hugging a tree, preferably a big one, and feel just how connected you are to it. When you are afraid, it is a good practice to ground yourself and find strength as you are connected to the earth. You should realize that you have always been close to the earth. From the time you were born, you have been swimming in the earth's energy. By connecting to the earth, not only can you release negative energy, but you can also empower yourself and fill yourself with positive energy. The power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act of power. It is also an effective way to release negative energy. If you carry hatred in your heart, then chances are that you will be filled with negative. When you forgive, you do not just do it for the person who is asking for forgiveness, but you also do it for your own good. In fact, forgiveness is possible even if the offender is not sorry for their wrongs against you. You can always forgive. The following meditation technique is a good way to extend forgiveness to anyone. The steps are as follows. Sit or lie down comfortably. Close your eyes and visualize the person whom you want to forgive standing in front for you. Try to visualize the person as clearly as possible. Now raise your hands in the position of blessing with your hands facing outward. Think about the wrongs that the person has done to you, but do not dwell on them. Just recall them into your mind. You do not even have to be attached to the memories. Now find peace in your heart. Once you find this peace, state the name of the person whom you visualize and say, "Name of the person. I forgive you. Forgiveness is an act of love." The more that you forgive, the more that you turn hatred into positive energy. As an empath, it may be easy for you to be offended. A common problem of being an empath is being overly sensitive. Negative energies may be able to affect you more than most people. If there is any person who seems to affect you negatively, you might want to extend forgiveness to them. Forgiveness is free. As such, you can extend forgiveness to everyone, even to those who do not feel sorry for offending you. The more that you forgive, the more that you free yourself from negative energy. If you do not forgive and allow the mistakes of others to fill you with hate, then you might end up just like them, or even worse. Forgiveness should be sincere. If you cannot find it in your heart to forgive a person, it helps if you spend some time to think about the situation. What is it that gives you a hard time to forgive someone? Sometimes, by making reflections, we get to realize our own imperfections and faults. Once you realize the value of forgiveness, you will know just how effective it is in cleansing the soul. The more that you forgive, the more peaceful you will feel. Another important part of forgiveness is learning how to forgive yourself. Indeed, there are people who carry lots of negative energy simply because they do not let go of it. Sometimes, to do this, you need to forgive yourself. You should learn to be kind to yourself. Unfortunately, in the modern world, it has become common to be hard on oneself. This is also why so many people are stressed out. Remember that you do not need to follow what society tells you. Be in control of your life. If something gives you more stress than you can manage, then you should do something about it. When you are an empath, you are more sensitive to stress. Of course, this does not mean that you should not face challenges. Rather, this means that you should be more in control, and you need to manage the level of stress that you are carrying. The importance of healing. Healing is important. Even if you are not an empath, you will find that you need to heal yourself from time to time. Healing is a natural part of life. No matter what you do, no matter how careful you try to be, it is inevitable that you will also face challenges and hardships along the way. It is also inevitable that you will have to deal with negative people from time to time. Hence, you will have to heal yourself when the need arises. Indeed, healing is a natural part of the life of an empath. A good thing about healing is that it transforms even negative energies into something that is much more positive. Indeed, healing and forgiveness can create a substantial positive impact on your life. Balancing ways to protect yourself as an empath. After specializing in treating the highly sensitive people, and people who are empaths like I am, for the decades have been in my area of career, have realized that we do feel everything happening around to an extreme, and that we do often have a minimal guard existing between ourselves and others. This often leads us to have an overwhelming feeling due to the excessive stimulation. And as discussed earlier, we are quite prone to be exhausted and overloaded. Therefore, being able to recognize the first sign of experiencing sensory overload is essential to self-care. This will help you when you start absorbing other people's emotions and feelings. It will be of many advantages when you realize this fast and work to reduce the stimulation and also to center yourself. Through doing so, you will be very balanced and protected. Immediately, you start feeling exhausted or being overwhelmed, and then you can consider putting into practice the following protection tips to stay balanced. 1. Shielding visualization. Shielding visualization is considered as one of the best ways to use in a bid to protect yourself. Most of the empaths do put this into place to block any negative energy, as they allow the positive energy to flow in their body freely. When bored up with a place, person, or situation, shield up. For you to be able to do these successively, begin by taking in a few deep breaths. Then you can proceed and visualize a gorgeous white light covering your body and extending just a few inches beyond. Having this shield assures you that you are protected from any stress, negativity, intrusiveness, or toxicity. When you are being protected by the shield, you should always be feeling happy, energized, and centered. The shield will block out any form of negativity and still feel the positive and love. Also, you consider this other exercise in which you will allow yourself at least 5 minutes for this exercise. Find a quiet and protected space. Make sure that you won't be interrupted. Loosen your clothing and find a comfortable position, perhaps sitting cross-legged on the floor or upright on a chair. Begin by taking a few deep, long breaths. Breathe in, really feeling the inhalation, and then exhale, really letting out a big exhalation. Feel the sensuality of the breath, the connection to prana, the sacred life force. Let all thoughts drift by like clouds in the sky, returning to your breath over and over again to find your center. Feel a core of energy running from your toes, throughout your body, and up through the top of your head. Focusing on this will keep you centered. Also, if you chose to use this method, it is at this point that you can visualize a shield, or maybe a pink or white light, and presumably is surrounding your body. It is this shield that protects you from any negative energy, stress, intrusive, and toxic. Just like discussed, it is within this shield that you will feel very happy, centered, and energized. This shield will be able to block out any form of negativity, and at that same time, you will have the ability to feel what is loving and positive. You will need to get used to being protected by the shield. You can always run to the shield's support whenever you have a feeling that you have started absorbing the negative energy at your surroundings. To close, inwardly say, "Thank you for this protection." Take a long, deep breath in and out, and then slowly open your eyes. Come back to the room. Be in your body 100%. Notably, despite using the shield, you will need to maintain daily self-care in which you will have to eat well and also minimize your stress levels. To add to this, various actions have been proven to be a bomb for the body and soul. This involves having a quiet time alone, interacting with the people who bring positive into you, taking a walk into nature, also going swimming, as immersing yourself in such water will help you clear your negative energies. And lastly, you can meditate, do exercise, and seek to draw lines with the energy vampires. Empaths should be able to understand and adapt ways on which they can incorporate these forms of self-care in their day-to-day lives. I strongly believe in rituals and meditations. 2. Define and express the relationship needs you to have. Being at a point of understanding your needs and having the ability to assert them is considered a strong way for the empaths to use in a bid to protect themselves. This enables them to have the full capacity to be in relation. If you have it in mind that things are not working out, you should sit down with your partner and discuss, instead of suffering in silence. Being able to find your voice is equivalent to being able to find power. Being unable to find your voice can lead to being anxious, exhausted, or having a dormant feeling while in relationships when the partner fails to meet your basic needs. Have in mind that your partner is not a mind reader, and therefore you will need to be quite open. Speaking up will play a key role in safeguarding your well-being. Ask yourself, what is that I will need from a relationship I'm unable to ask for? Should I be more alone, or I need a quiet place and time? Should I sleep by myself sometimes? Should I play more, have more sex or talk? Or would we go and dance under the moon at night together? During this process, it is advised that you refrain from making any conclusions or judgments. Allow your intuitions to flow freely. At this time, you can consider uncovering all your true feelings. You will have zero reasons for you to hold back anything or to feel ashamed. 3. Always do set very energetic boundaries both at home and at work. Empaths suffer in most cases while in their environment due to absorbing the stress and pain in their environs. To add to this, the workplace can be quite overstimulating and noisy. To secure your energy level in a genuinely requesting or swarmed condition, encompass the external edge of your space with plants or family or pet images to make a little mental boundary. Being around the consecrated items like the Kuan Yin, sacred beads, the Buddha, protective stones, or the crystals can highly set an energetic boundary. Using noise-cancelling earphones and earbuds are essential when it comes to the muffling of conversations and sound. 4. Prevent yourself from empathy overload. You can consider inhaling lavender oil or putting a few drops on the third eye, between your eyebrows, to calm yourself and prevent you from absorption of unnecessary stress and symptoms of the other people in your surroundings. Empaths should always ensure that they spare time for nature whenever possible. For me, how one manages time is important to sanity. As much as I work on this, and I ensure that I refrain from scheduling my patients from back to back. Also, with time, I have come to realize that it is always advisable to cancel plans any time I feel that I am overloaded. I have the feeling that this is a skill required and essential for every empath to put into practice. The skill will enable you to avoid being obliged to make a move when you feel tired and in need of resting. Therefore, clearing your limits with the people who will drain much of your energy and those you consider to be quite toxic is necessary. You will need to always have in mind that no is a complete sentence. There is no need for you to keep on explaining yourself. I tend to be quite adamant on trying as much as possible to avoid the energy drainers, more so when I feel quite overloaded. Have you ever thought of practicing self-compassion? Yes, this is quite important. Being sweet to self whenever possible is key. This will mean that you refrain from beating yourself up. Every time you experience a tough day, you can consider telling yourself, "I tried the best I could, and it is okay, darling." 5. The Jaguar Protection Meditation. Calling on the power of Jaguar to give the protection is quite recommended, mostly when you have to feel that you need that extra protection. I always use the same, mostly when I feel that there is much negativity that is coming on my side too fast. Jaguar is said to be a fierce and very patient guard, with the ability to keeping away the unwanted toxic energy and people. In a calm meditative state, call on him from your deepest heart, and he will for sure give you the protection you need. Feel her presence entering. You will be able to visualize this powerful and gorgeous creature patrol your energy field, keeping away the intruders as it encircles you. Doing away with any form of negative force you feel like it should be gotten rid of. Think of how a jaguar looks like, how he has some fierce, loving eyes, purposeful how he moves, his sleek body, and things of the sort. Feel secure in the circle of this jaguar's protection. Proceed to thank Jaguar because he is always there during your time of need. Feel the power of that. As a sensitive person, you will need to learn and understand much about how you can deal with too much sensory overload when you are picking too quickly. You have to put in mind that this can easily leave you sick, exhausted, anxious, depressed, or in pain. Just like other empaths, you might feel you direly need an on-off switch, which is quite possible. It is quite possible and easy for you to take charge required whenever you have no doubts about being protected. Taking charge means you can take control of your sensitivities and not allowing yourself to feel as if they are victimizing you. For you to be able to gain a sense of safety, then it will be quite essential to recognize the common factors that lead to one being overloaded. 4. Be clear with your triggers, and this will give you the knowledge on how you can act fast in a bid to remedy a solution. Chapter 11. The Alien Sensation. Essentially, everyone on the planet Earth will, at some point, go through phases in which they feel like they don't belong. However, empaths tend to feel this sensation in excess. They feel out of place among their peers, like they have nowhere where they will fit in or belong. It's unknown exactly how many or what percent of empaths actually experience that sensation of feeling out of place. But it's known and well accepted that most people, empath or otherwise, will experience it. Keeping this in mind, here are some tips when you feel like you don't belong. Know that this feeling will pass. You are loved and there are people who support you. So keep pushing through, and you will make it out of your bad days with more experience under your belt than you had prior. There's nothing to be ashamed of by asking for help. Try to break out of your rut. Change things up in any way you can, whether that means taking some time to yourself for a change, or starting a new hobby. Change something about your daily routine that will make your days something to look forward to more. Branch out. Often people feel like they don't belong anywhere when in reality they might simply be lonely. Reach out to new circles and try to make new friends. These new experiences and the change of pace socially should at least help you in moving past your phase of feeling hopelessly out of place. Seek outside help if the feelings persist and become worse. It's satisfying to be able to solve your own problems, but there are professionals out there who can and will help you move through things if the emotional labor is simply too much for you to handle. Understand that your feelings are normal and valid. These things you're feeling right now, while being temporary and subject to change, are also valid and not uncommon things to feel. Find comfort in the fact that everyone has felt the way you're feeling now. This might also give you the extra push you need to branch out or seek support somewhere else. If you do have a support system made up of your loved ones, use it. They are there for you to love and support you through anything and everything, so lean on them. Depending on the people you love in times of weakness, it doesn't speak to your weakness at all. It speaks to your pride and your strength. Some people that suffer from this alien sensation may also suffer from something called imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a phenomenon where a person feels as if the mask they wear or the way they tend to speak and act in public is nothing more than a farce, and that they're tricking people into liking them and enjoying their company by doing so. Imposter syndrome is especially common in empaths, specifically women, and can strike at any time, anywhere to anyone. If you are someone who suffers from imposter syndrome, remind yourself that you aren't alone and that your feelings of being a false identity aren't based in reality. It's simply the way society has taught your brain to work. Unteach it as often and as much as you can. Read books and learn more about your feelings and other people who feel this way. Again, support groups exist to offer solidarity, support, and advice to people who feel similar ways. Being an empath can be difficult when you're constantly being bombarded with info from other people, even when you didn't necessarily want to be receiving it in the first place. Although sensory overload is typically experienced by people with anxiety disorders, like generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder, or by people on the autism spectrum, anyone can suffer a period of sensory overload. It can strike at the most inopportune of times, and it can happen to effectively everyone. Here are some ways to deal with sensory overload if and when it strikes. Take deep breath. Sensory overload can feel very similar to a panic attack, so steps should be taken accordingly to treat it as such. Sensory overload is a serious and crippling affliction that plagues the lives of millions of people every day, empath or not. If you can get into contact with a loved one whom you know can help you through it, do so. Because you're currently suffering from the equivalent of a panic attack, it's best to get into contact with someone who can comfort you and, if possible, remove you safely from the situation. If you can't get into contact with a loved one or someone else who can help you, you can either remove yourself or contact a crisis line. Removing yourself is obviously the quickest and most effective thing to do, but is not always possible, depending on the situation you might be in. There are many crisis lines you could choose from, although most of them have some kind of waiting period before you can be patched through to a responder. They are generally run by real people who have experience and know how to help someone in the peak of a panic attack or period of intense sensory overload. Some crisis lines are strictly over the phone, but many offer texting options as well, for those who feel anxious at the thought of speaking over the phone or who can't talk aloud for whatever reason pertaining to the situation they're in. Talk to yourself. Some people find that keeping a monologue with themselves as they wait for someone to pick them up, or for an opportunity to remove themselves from the setting, helps them to relax and stay calm until then. The best things to say to yourself are simple and repetitive positive affirmation, like, I can do this, I'm fine, etc. If you can't talk to yourself, other physical stimulations can help ease the anxiety until the peak of the episode passes. People with anxiety tend to habitually rub the back of their necks, their wrists, and often rub their forefinger against their thumb, as a way of recreating the sensation of being physically consoled. This won't work long term, but it's a good method for providing temporary relief. Once you are able to be removed from the situation, talk about it to someone. If someone that you trust comes to retrieve you from the overwhelming situation, don't pretend to be fine. Refusing to open about your feelings, no matter how dramatic they might seem to you or someone else at the moment, is only going to damage you further emotionally and make it more difficult for you in the future to open up to others. Take a mental note of how you responded to the situation. If you feel there were things you definitely could have done differently or better, make note of them for the next time you're in a setting that gives you sensory overload. If you feel as if you handled the situation well, applaud yourself and recognize how well you did. After praising yourself, make note of the things you did right. The next time you're in a potentially overloading setting, you'll thank yourself for holding on to those mental notes. After all, no one can give better advice to you than yourself. Arming yourself with your own knowledge is the best way to prepare yourself for the future. This is both applicable to episodes of sensory overload and your life in general living as an empath, as no one can know more about you than you can. Taking the time to learn more about yourself as you grow and mature is a crucial part of developing your gift and honing your emotional abilities as a highly sensitive person. Energy vampires. There are 3 major types of symbiotic interactions. In the first, one party benefits and the other is neutral. In the second, both parties benefit. And in the third, one party benefits at the expense of the other. Life experience teaches us that some people are givers and some are takers. Givers are those who are generous with their time, attention, and resources, and try to help their fellow man. Takers are quite the opposite. These folks rely on others for support, both physically and emotionally, and often economically as well. This is a spectrum of behavior, and no one fits precisely into either category. However, most people belong more in one than the other, and empaths tend to be giving souls. In life, high-energy sources feed low-energy ones. It is a law of the universe. Think about economics. People with a lot of wealth end up supplying those with little wealth through employment, taxes, and charity. They simply have more resources and buying power. Rich countries help support poor ones, and many citizens of financially distressed lands go to richer ones to earn money they send back home. Think of families. The members with more energy contribute more to the family, and those with less take more and give less. Many remember group projects in school where the hard-working student did the assignment for the whole group. As an empath, it is vital that you understand that there are many kinds of takers, and some are much more treacherous than others. The most draining ones are a marked threat to any empath's wellness, and may be a major contributing factor to dysfunction. Identifying these energy vampires is an important step to mastering life as an empath. There are 5 distinct types of energy vampires, though some overlap may occur. 1. The perpetual victim blamer lives with the belief that they are being controlled by external situations and people rather than being in charge of their own life. This type consistently refuses to take responsibility for their actions and views themselves as persecuted and pushed around. Often passive-aggressive, they are extremely negative, engage in self-pity, and like to rant about all the things that have happened to them. Sometimes they play the role of a martyr. 2. The narcissist describes people with an inflated sense of self-grandeur. They are greedy for attention and always seeking validation for their accomplishment. They become very angry when someone refuses to endorse their distorted perception of greatness, and may seek revenge. This type rarely admits to wrongdoing, and will make excuses or blame others for their mistakes. Narcissists are extremely manipulative, can be charming and charismatic, and know how to get what they want. Some have insight into the fiction of their minds, but others genuinely struggle with understanding that they are not a superior life form. 3. The jealous gossiper focuses on tearing other people down because they feel bad about themselves. Instead of working on their own happiness, these people fixate on others' lives and spend their time talking about other people behind their backs, often in a critical manner. They take a great deal of pleasure in gossiping, especially when other people are struggling. May pretend to be concerned about others' welfare and sad about their misfortunes, when in fact they are not sympathetic at all. They are notorious drama addicts, highly judgmental, and especially resentful of people who are successful and genuine. 4. The dismal. This energy vampire has an aura of doom and gloom. Being around these people instantly puts a damper on one's mood. This person is chronically pessimistic, highly insecure, and very anxious. They obsess about bad things that have happened, are happening now, and ruminate about the horrors inevitably waiting for them in their future. They often have a compulsive need to verbalize their fears and are difficult to cheer up or redirect. The dismal typically has poor motivation, low energy, and indulges in a sense of helplessness. They frequently find people to take care of them. 5. The psychopath. This is the rarest type and by far the most dangerous. These people are essentially predators and may be violent, abusive, or controlling. Hard criminals and con artists fall into this category, and the more controlled ones may occupy high-level positions. Their conscience is poorly developed, and they operate out of self-gratification and the pleasure principle. Consequences are the only thing capable of halting their predatory actions. They are potentially very dangerous to society. It is important to understand that not all energy vampires are created equal. Some are more pathological than others, and some are more likely and able to change. For example, the dismal is the most harmless of the bunch, because these people are by far the least malicious. The others are more invested in actively hurting people in order to cope with their own insecurities, and the antisocial qualities of the narcissist and the psychopath make them by far the most destructive and damaging. These two types may be highly intuitive as well, and are not uncommon in spiritual circles where they use their intuition for selfish reasons. Empaths should be aware of this as they seek out literature and professionals for help. Life sure has its challenges, and everyone goes through difficult times. A person may begin as an energy vampire and change for the better. Someone who usually copes well and has a positive outlook on life may turn into an energy vampire during an especially trying time in their lives. This could be permanent or temporary, depending on the person. It is best to be compassionate and understand these people are only reacting to their own suffering. Still, allowing these people to harm you is unacceptable. Avoidance and/or eliminating contact with these people may be necessary. Energy vampires are drawn to people like you because they instinctually know that you are compassionate, will meet their needs, and that you are a rich source of energy. To put it bluntly, these individuals are like parasites looking for a host. They sense when they have found someone who will support them. As an empath, it is your responsibility to protect yourself from these situations. The only reason an energy vampire is capable of harm is because it has been permitted. Feeling drained and overwhelmed are key signs of contact with an energy vampire. Feeling guilty for not meeting their needs, ashamed of yourself, being anxious to help, and afraid of their reaction if one chooses to walk away from the relationship are other indicators. Dreading a future encounter is a decided red flag that you are spending your time around someone who is not benefiting your existence. Chapter 12. Understanding Energy. Once an empath starts to embrace their gift and understand that they don't have to carry other people's energy around with them, a natural curiosity about energy sets in. Through your symptoms and experiences, you are aware of how powerfully energy can affect you in a negative way. If this is the case, it is also possible that energy can have a positive effect on you. Once you have learned how to deal with the stress of carrying energy, it then frees you to learn how you can use energy positively. Learning how energy works is an exciting adventure, and it can take you to places in life that you didn't think existed. As you have read, many empaths become healers. These are the people who have learned how to embrace their gift, because they understand how their energy can have a positive effect on others. The first step in learning about energy is to understand how to ground yourself from different energy. This will help you to avoid becoming overwhelmed by the energy that you can feel. One of the most popular grounding techniques is through visualization. This is where you consciously imagine yourself being grounded. Here are some steps to get you started. Sit comfortably in a chair and position both of your feet firmly on the ground with your palms facing upwards. Don't force yourself into a certain position. Simply allow your body to relax into the chair. Imagine that a piercing white light is radiating from the sun and through your crown chakra and leaving the bottom of your spine and then into the earth's center. Imagine that as your body is being filled with the white light, negative black energy is being released through your palms. When your entire body has been filled with the white light, you will naturally relax, knowing that you are now filled with positive and peaceful energy. You should practice visualization on a regular basis as a strategy to keep you grounded to the earth underneath you, to release the negative energy that has attached itself to you, and to enhance your empath gift. Working confidently with energy will cause you to stop feeling as if you are out of control. It will enable you to protect yourself and heal yourself and the people who are placed in your path. Ultimately, it will give you the ability to control the energy that is directly affecting you. There are many things that you can excel in when you learn to effectively handle energy, which is one of the reasons it is so attractive to many. It is your divine right to learn how to navigate this powerful terrain of energy so that you can use it in a way that benefits you and others. Mediumistic abilities. A medium uses their intuitive or psychic abilities to see into the past, present, and future of an individual's life by tuning into the spirit energy surrounding that person. Mediums are reliant upon the presence of a spiritual energy outside of themselves to gain accurate information about the person they are reading. In the work of mediumship, a connection is made with the dead to deliver messages to those who are alive. Information is received directly from the dead, angels, and spirit guides. There are 4 main types of mediumship. Clairsentience, you strongly sense the emotions and feelings of people, spirits, animals, and places. You feel these emotions both in your heart and in your body. You also feel the presence of spirits. If you have clairsentient abilities, you are very sensitive to your surroundings. You easily sense the vibe of a person or place. You have unexplainable physical or emotional reactions when you go to places where there are large crowds. Your emotions change suddenly when you are around people or when you arrive at a person's home. You know what people are feeling without them telling you. You can empathize with people easily. You can feel the presence of spirits. When people are in pain, you can feel it in your own body. You use the words "I feel" when you are having conversations with others. You can taste and smell things from the spirit world. Claircognizance information comes to you spontaneously. You don't doubt it and believe in your soul that it is 100% accurate. This information will either come in the form of figures and facts, or you just know the truth of a situation, a girlfriend, boyfriend, or a career path. If you have claircognizant abilities, you receive the answers to things and don't understand how or where it came from. You have very inspirational, creative, and beneficial ideas. Your mind is never still. You are always coming up with a new idea, especially when you are working on a project. You automatically know when someone is telling the truth or not. You tend to use the words "I know" when having conversations with others. Clairvoyance, you see things as images in your mind, or as a precognition in dreams before they manifest. If you have clairvoyant abilities, you constantly have very vivid dreams, are very imaginative, and spend a lot of time daydreaming. Always speak in metaphors. You can see shapes, colors, pictures, or objects when you close your eyes to sleep or during meditation. You see flashes of light, sparkly lights, or movements through the corners of your eyes. You often use the words "I see" when you are talking to others. Clairaudience, you hear messages either inside your mind or audibly. For the majority of people, these messages come in the form of telepathic communication, meaning that the spirits will have a conversation with you through your thoughts. You can have a conversation with the spirits and they will reply. If you have clairaudientates, you listen more than you talk. You speak to plants and animals because you believe that they can communicate with you. You often feel as if you are the recipient of telepathic information. When you provide really helpful advice, you forget what you said straight away and wonder where you got such wise information. You often hear buzzing or ringing in your ears. You experience the same sensation in your ears just before they pop on an airplane. You use the words "I hear" when speaking to people. Due to the intuitive nature of empaths, they are often drawn to mediumistic abilities. This is not a natural trait of an empath. But that doesn't mean that you can't have the gift. It is in fact easier for an empath to develop this gift because of their sensitivity to the spirit world. If you feel that you are being drawn to this area and you decide that you want to develop this skill, it is not something that you should take lightly and is crucial that you find a good teacher. As you have now learned, empaths absorb all types of energy, whether positive or negative. And if you get in contact with the wrong spirit, it will torment you. Psychic abilities. Empaths are capable of sensing things before they manifest. The psychic ability is strongly connected to your ability to just know. You'll often have visions or premonitions about things prior to them happening. You can't learn to have visions or premonitions, but you can train yourself to have them whenever you need to. This provides you with the wonderful and powerful ability to be able to predict future events. You may not have experienced any premonitions or visions yet, but this doesn't mean that you can't operate in that gift. It may be that you haven't tapped into it yet. As you learn how to control this gift, you will find it easy and exciting to predict the future. Energy projection. One of the things that you may not be aware of as an empath is that you can send energy to people. This is a skill that is used for remote healing, where empaths are capable of healing people when they are not even in their presence. Others use this as a way of praying for people and sending good energy and thoughts in the direction of another person to help them to get through a difficult time when they are unable to be there personally. Sending energy is not limited to empaths. Everyone can do this if they put their mind to it. However, when empaths send energy, the recipient is more likely to feel it because they have a powerful connection to the energy source. Healing empaths understand the connection that energy and people have. This is referred to as an energy body, and it can become inflicted with illness or pain. When you are trained in energy healing, you learn how you can work with your own or another person's energy body to induce healing to create a healthy energy body. Chapter 13. Basics of managing your gifts. Sadly, many of the people capable of empathy have a difficult time controlling and harnessing their abilities. Common side effects of not having full control over your gifts are discussed in later chapters, but issues like mental fatigue, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia regression, and many other negative mindsets and disorders haunt the empathetic community. As a group so open to the emotions and influences of those around them, it is often extremely difficult to completely block out all the noise, and these negative emotional and mental experiences are the result. Moreover, their ability to sense other people's moods can inadvertently affect their own should they be too lax in their guard. They aren't weak-willed, quite the opposite, in fact. The rising problem, however, is that the world and society as a whole are becoming more and more desensitized to things that empaths can feel just by watching it on a newsreel. The prevalence of violence and obscenity that can be accessed by anyone at any point in time have an undeniable influence on the psyche, especially for those who are already more in tune to the flow of the world around it. While empaths can eventually build up a tolerance to such things, they will still have to deal with the repressed or simply ignored negativity that comes along with the knowledge and actions that every single person they pass by has accumulated throughout their life. It can honestly be quite stifling at times. However, while it can be difficult to deal with at the moment, it is, in fact, the key to happiness and growth, not only as humans or empaths, but as an entire species. Currently, true empaths account for around 2–3% of Earth's total population, doing some basic work and averaging 7.5 billion multiplied by 0.25. And this gives us around 188 million empaths after rounding. Secondly, there is a further 15–20% listed as highly sensitive individuals, but these simply aren't on the level of true, naturally born empaths. Sastadoritas 9 years furdy surfit at they still have a degree of sensitivity, and many can likely train their gifts to a decent enough level, but they simply aren't born with it. Third, even taking into consideration the small percentage of empaths, human compassion is still a very real and very powerful thing. Just because empaths are naturally more able to sense things, it is entirely possible to learn non-vocal signs of various troubles. Even just having an itch is entirely possible for someone that is attentive and willing to help others. Fourth, and finally, this goal is based on long-term thinking in its completion, and will certainly not be easy. However, if you truly wish to make the best of your empathetic abilities and reduce the negativity that it brings with you, then it could be just as easy as this. Realize, however, that the term easy is subjective. While there is no one universal way for empaths to alleviate the mental and spiritual strain that seems to assail so many of them, there are certain things that can be done in order to improve the condition. Part of the issue stems from the fact that empaths with different types of gifts are going to have different needs in this area as well. When looking for ways of dealing with your personal issues, it is important to seek out true sources of healing, as opposed to just temporary fixes that are little more than band-aids on the true problem. After all, band-aids may help to cover the wound and aid its growth, but you also need medicine, nourishment, disinfectant, and plenty of other things in order to make a healthy recovery. Basic actions to begin. It is important to understand the true power of tiny actions. For example, there is an organization that offers aid to anyone that needs it, completely free of charge. To join, simply place a safety pin in a clearly visible area around the collar of your shirt. Step 2. Explain to anyone that asks that this safety pin symbolizes that it is safe to talk to you and that you will not share, judge, or ridicule them for anything that they confide in you. Then, of course, simply be willing to hear out any that ask you for it. It is little things like this that not only allow other people to have a chance to open up, but that allow you to use your empathy to fulfill your potential role as a healer as well. A shoulder to cry on, or an ear to listen to, is one of the greatest things you could hope to give to people that are afraid of being made fun of for their silly problems. Think of all the times that you have wanted to scream your frustrations and sadness. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there that remain silent in their agony because they don't feel it's worth it to share their pain with anyone else. As empaths, regardless of the gifts you have, it is your duty to try and alleviate such needless suffering. Next, consider volunteering at any kind of charity or community event. One of the problems that many empaths have is the surge of energy that they are able to recognize when in large crowds. It's scary, feeling so much tension and emotion flitting around from every direction. This is why it is common for many empaths to take breaks at sporting events, because they simply can't handle all the emotions assaulting their psyche. However, When you're surrounded by good intentions and people, it should be easier to find joy and calmness, because your energy responds to the energy of others that are going through a rough time. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel compelled to listen to other problems or be able to heal emotional pain. For a sort of self-help tip, consider this. How many people a day do you see that you want to ask, "What's wrong?" How many times have you watched that one student or co-worker walk by your desk and want to say hi? Many empaths suffer from social anxiety due to an early feeling of displacement when put in social settings. If this describes you, then a good way to get over this issue is to get out there and make friends, help them, then try and help them help other people. Additionally, you may find it useful to pick up a few hobbies. Draw, sing, dance, maybe just start going for walks around your neighborhood. It's important to remember that at heart, empaths are just like everyone else, which means they need things like social interaction, exercise, and laughter just as much as everyone else. Don't ever be embarrassed because what you decide to do is a bit weird, or you aren't too good at it at first. One of the amazing things about joy and happiness is that you get to decide what gives it to you. By picking up creative or constructive hobbies, you will give yourself an outlet to funnel any negative emotions and express and grows the positive feelings that you experience as well. One outlet that many untrained empaths experiment with is prescription medication, whether it is prescribed or not. While this can certainly make it easy to deal with your issues at the moment, the release they provide won't last forever, which is why looking for more permanent solutions is likely the better choice in the long run. Just as people are likely willing to speak to you about their personal issues, so too must you be willing to confide in others. It can be scary, especially when your stress is rooted in your empathetic gifts. However, it is far scarier to let those emotions fester inside of you. This is why you must be willing to let your guard down to a few people, either those close to you or a professional, as it will provide you with the same release others come to you for. The most important part of this is being willing to let those emotions leave you once you've expressed them in some way. Remember though, a majority of the times that someone has to reply, "I'm fine," something has happened that requires doubt of the expression. There are, in the end, only ever 3 ways you can react to something. With love, indifference, or hate. Indifference not only does not change the situation, but oftentimes worsens it. Hate, of course, can only lead to destruction. Love, though, regardless of where you channel it or what situation it is used in, usually tends to help even if it is just a little. Of course, I'm not speaking of a love attached to strings of prejudice or bias, but of pure love. What is pure love? The soul's unbound and unrestrained joy for nothing other than the simple existence of that which is loved. As empaths, it is crucial to not only absorb good emotions, but also to spread them from ourselves. Furthermore, you may well find a meaningful path forward if you undertake personal, in-depth studies across various religions and theological beliefs. As previously mentioned, personal ideals and values have an effect on how your consciousness interacts with the spiritual world around you. Thus, by studying a wide variety of theological practices, you will find that you are able to more accurately find your own religious and spiritual persuasion. This is beneficial for 2 main reasons. The first is that simply accepting the theological beliefs you are raised with leads to complacency in spirituality and your search for greater truth. Secondly, by learning of differing values and morals across the world, you will begin to learn about our own prejudices and biases, which you can then hopefully attempt to shed, in hopes of becoming a more loving person. This will do for now in regard to general practices, which help to curb your empathetic struggles with emotions and psyche. The most important of these practices is, of course, that you do so not only to alleviate your own discomfort, but to try and lead others to the path of self-love and emotional giving. Never forget, empaths at their core are meant to serve and help other sentient life. This is one of the most vital aspects of empathy, and one you will no doubt enjoy embracing.
gift-specific practices. These are hardly all of the possible solutions, but will focus on simple lifelong happiness through various actions and practices.
Some of these ideas can be done by any human, whilst others with relying specifically on your ability and beliefs as an empath. Precognition. People with this ability are uniquely suited to dangerous or luck-reliant work. Whether it's sensing that a support beam will fall as a firefighter, or having a good itch about a certain time in the stock market. The main problem with precognizant empaths is that they either fail to understand the small hints given by their ability. Thus, you should take time out of each day to meditate and focus on better understanding every aspect of your life that you can, not just your emotions and the basic view of your memories, but how every small action that has ever occurred has led up to that moment. Every little flap of a bird's wing, every vegetable planted, every movement of every snowflake in the Arctic. Literally every detail, since the inception of the universe, must come together perfectly in order for your current reality to exist. Try and begin to understand and interpret how these little sensations that mark your gift are simply telling you that something is about to click into place so that you can be prepared. Be wary of overly relying on your gift, however. Should your ability constantly be sending off alarms, you could begin to have a grinding mental dive due to nerves or simple paranoia in trying to decipher this huge rush of information. Most importantly, in regard to precognizance and any empathy, remember to use your gift for the betterment of others. Telepathy. It can be difficult living while overly conscious of the emotions of others. This can be further exasperated by the addition of personal bias, memories, and thought processes. While telepathy is considered to be one of the rarer gifts, it is by no means weaker than the others. If you are lucky enough to experience it, then it is important to carefully select who it is that you regularly communicate with. That isn't to say that you should just avoid anyone you don't already know, but rather to just be conscious of an individual's effect on your own psyche. Keep acquaintances at arm's length, and don't allow yourself to be pressured into spending time with people that have detrimental or purposefully negative mindset. By all means, try and help them through this unfortunate circumstance. But remember to have at least some form of mental guard against their radiating negativity. As for things you can do to harness and train your gift, try various brain games that require you to guess what another has either done or is thinking. As it is difficult to adequately encompass the manner in which telepathic gifts are manifested in each individual, simply take the idea of pulling the movement and sensations of what the subject has done from their mind. If, for instance, someone was to hold their hands behind their back and hold a coin in either their hand or pocket, then this individual asks you to guess which hand or pocket the coin is in. Think of yourself as either feeling the coin in their hand by tapping into the sensations their mind is currently processing, or simply just hearing their thoughts say, right pocket. Continuing the train of thought involving mental exercises. Also try and closely watch another's reactions or expressions when exposed to various circumstances of life. Learning body language can help to give your gift subconscious a basis to more accurately interpret and understand the quote-unquote visions you experience. Yes, it is a bit strange to watch people like this, but the idea is that eventually you will be able to easily pick up on their intentions and thoughts at both a physical and spiritual glance. Psychometry. One of the biggest issues that psychometrists face is the fact that new places or environments can greatly affect them. Over time, the mind becomes adjusted to the environment around it, much like how the body builds a tolerance to drugs. For most people, leaving an area they have resided in causes them to feel either nervous or excited, as they are taking a step towards new experiences and lifestyles. For psychometrists who are attuned to the objects around them, this can be a very stressful situation. Say, for example, that a keenly trained psychometrist decides to move from a safe suburban neighborhood and move to a city that has been repeatedly ravaged by wars and destruction. Regardless of the effects of the people, the psychometrists will be able to feel the agony and suffering that has imprinted itself on the sites of massacres and execution. Yes, many times psychometry is reliant on physical contact, but how many people that you know vehemently refuse to touch anything? Instead, it is better to slowly learn to filter or turn off the flow of information you receive from the objects you interact with. Perhaps use an old heirloom or sentimental gift to push and pull the sensations into and out of your mind. Then try and do so with various objects from friends or family. Then simply take a walk around your town or city. Every now and then, find a quiet enough place and simply be. Try sitting on a park bench and attempting to feel the small remnants of emotions left behind by the people that have sat there just as you have. Go to a sports stadium or court and try to sense the energy and ambition of all the players that have been there before. Psychometry relies much less on the current emotion of others, but rather your own sensitivity to the small traces of sentience left behind on inanimate objects. Physical and emotional healing. These two together are very similar in certain aspects, and a lot of the little tips related to them coincide. To start, it is important to understand the term transference of spirits. This is a term most commonly associated with Christianity, which is only used here as it is one of the most widely known depictions of this occurrence. A transference of spirits is the act of trading emotions and intentions between the souls of two sentient beings, simply caused by exposure to the other's presence or physical contact. To give a more detailed explanation, this transferal is simply the basic ability that all empaths hold, the ability to sense and send out emotions subconsciously. Of course, this term applies to all living things, while empathy is believed to be a more advanced form of this ability. With that in mind, healing of just about any kind is reliant on the two energies released during the process of a healing. Problems with this include a sensation called phantom pain. This is when by either sight or physical touch, a person is able to feel an echo of pain observed by the affected. This is more for the healing portion. But emotional healing is very similar in that echoes of a person's sadness or trauma can sometimes be felt as well. Luckily, though, this gift often just allows for a hypersensitivity or awareness of another's pain. This gives the empaths insight into the inner workings of their subject's turmoil and is greatly valued in doctoral or counsel-based fields of work. You will find that the best way to deal with issues related to this gift is to simply use your gift to help others. Practice your communication skills. And don't be afraid to walk up to someone that you know looks troubled. Respect the individual's privacy, but if they aren't comfortable with talking about the subject, at least give them a small amount of support. Start giving them thumbs up every time you see them, or maybe think a few happy thoughts to send to them. For physical healers, whenever you aid someone injured, try and send calming intentions into them. This is just a basic example, but every first step counts. Primal, nature communication, and geomancy. These three can also be linked together in a small group. This is mostly due to the similarity in the areas they govern. Nature, in all its forms, is a very pure kind of energy when untainted by modern humanity. Being able to interact with this is one of the ways that Native Americans, monks, and hermits are able to gain spiritual insight into the inner workings of the world around them. It should come as no surprise that people with these gifts are able to work so well as veterinarians and geologists. Try going into the woods, or even just your yard sometime, and try to meditate. If you walk, that's fine, just try and find the life of whatever your gifts allow you to. Industrial areas or places with a high amount of pollution can feel stifling or oppressive to some. Being more closely connected to nature can cause a rejection of a concrete society. It is best to stick to more rural areas as they allow for at least some measure of interaction with plant life. Claircognizance, the mindset of someone with this ability, can be most simply described as armor. Once adrenaline starts pumping or danger is sensed, an unnatural calm can come over this type of empath. They pick apart a situation. Some of the articles, these individuals are uniquely suited to highly stressful situations. Militants, professional fighters, CEOs, surgeons, etc. Outreach to other empaths can help you tremendously, as being able to exchange knowledge and opinions with others can open your eyes to things you would never think of yourself. Self-study is also a major factor, though this holds true for nearly every aspect of life. Don't be closed-minded about topics simply because they are different from your current beliefs. Protection against energy vampires and psychic attacks. Most sensitives have been around or come across energy vampires or narcissistic people at some point. Even after spending a few minutes in their company, we often leave feeling violated and drained. In my experience, most emotional vampires are not aware of this trait within them. That doesn't help us not feel terrible in their company. Even though they may be oblivious to their own nature, most of them unconsciously recognize that being around an empath makes them feel better and more positive about themselves. For this reason, they can often cling to empaths because of the positive feelings they are able to gain from being in their presence. Due to an energy vampire's overbearing personality, empaths often struggle against these types of energetic attacks because of their weak boundaries. Being around them can negatively impact their own ability to function well. After spending too much time with these people, our energy begins to diminish into negativity, whereas the energy vampire feels uplifted from taking positive energy from us. They essentially feed on others' positivity. It is important to recognize if you feel depleted, stressed, or drained around certain people, as you're likely in the presence of a psychic vampire. The reasons behind vampirism and narcissism: these people feel cut off from themselves and deep down feel unworthy of being loved, which stops them from getting their own needs met. The only way they can get what they need is to take it from others. Due to their unconnectedness to themselves, they are unable to find fulfillment within. So this void is then filled by stealing energy from other people. They prey on easy targets, i.e. those with weak boundaries who can easily drain. Energy vampires are often singled out for being evil and harmful, but their actions are often unconscious. They don't know what they are doing. They are victims themselves. Although this doesn't make it any easier on us, the paradox is that the energy vampire and the victim are similar on some level. They have been drawn together, and that is why the vampire is able to attach to the victim through this identification. The opposites have attracted one another. Narcissists are often attracted to empaths and people in healing or spiritual circles, as these people are the most open and loving. This makes them easy prey for an energy vampire. They will usually... It is also worth mentioning that while certain people are energy vampires per se, most people have some vampirism tendencies depending upon their mood. If someone you know, a friend perhaps, is going through a particularly tough time, they may unconsciously reach out in an energy-sucking way as they seek an uplift in their mood. They probably won't realize they are doing this, but empaths should be on their guard against it. Telephone calls are one of the main ways friends can steal your energy. If a friend calls you regularly to talk about their problems, you may want to emotionally withdraw and detach consciously from the conversation. Be there to listen, but not to take on their negative energy. Over time, your friend will probably recognize they do not get a boost from unloading their problems onto you, so will probably stop sharing their personal issues as much. This doesn't mean your friendship with them will end, but you are just setting a boundary between what is yours and what is theirs. Remember that healthy relationships are based on balance and an equal amount of giving and taking. Energetic cording. The primary way I have found to disconnect from these people is to cut them out of my life and stop communicating with them altogether. Not in a malicious way, but instead to essentially release them through love and forgiveness. This can be incredibly difficult to do, however, especially if it is someone close, such as a family member or a work colleague we have to see each day. In these scenarios, we can disconnect from the other by cutting our energetic ties to them. Cording refers to an energetic connection between two people. These connections are usually between certain chakras. For example, when a mother gives birth to a baby, they're energetically connected via the first chakra at the bottom of the torso. The root chakra from the mother connects to the root chakra to the baby. It would essentially look like a line of light from one to the other. This is a healthy, positive cord. Healthy energetic cords can also form between people who are not related, such as spouses, close friends, or anyone you feel a connection to. However, these cord connections can also be forced by one person onto another. This type of cording is unhealthy and draining to the recipient of such an act. For example, people often become attached to their ex-partners. Even after the relationship is over, we can sometimes still feel a connection to this person. It is possible that your ex-partner had created a cord into your system to remember and to stay in touch with you energetically. This enables them to experience a little bit of your energy. When your ex is thinking or remembering you, they are creating and reinforcing an energetic cord into one of your chakras, probably unconsciously. This is why even after the relationship is over, we cannot stop thinking about the other person. They are connecting to us energetically. That's why it is important to heal your own energy to stop other people cording into you again. Most energetic cording takes place on one of the torso-based chakras, 1 to 4. These include the sacral above the groin area, the solar plexus mid-belly, the heart or the throat chakra. If you feel an ache or sensation in any of these areas when around a certain person, become aware that they may be draining your life force from you. You can block this by simply placing your hands directly over the affected chakra to help break the connection. Often in difficult social situations, people will cross their arms over their bodies, usually unconsciously. This helps us feel safer and defend our energy in this position. The reason another person is able to cord you is because your chakras are not strong enough and must be healed. When the chakras are unhealthy or unhealed, it leaves them open for others to attach to. Psychic vampires gain a strong feed of energy from the chakra points. For example, a person I used to know would attach to my solar plexus, and I could physically feel the sensation of the connection. When the chakras and boundaries are healed, healthy and established, it becomes difficult for others to form this connection, though cording your energy field. Energetic cords form when we still carry hurt or baggage with us from our pasts. These wounds leave our chakras open so they become easily attachable. The low energy of this wound attracts the low energy of the vampire or narcissist. Empaths often feel a sensation in their solar plexus region. This chakra is the seat of our emotions. This is where the emotions of others are most deeply felt, and where we are the most vulnerable to be corded and drained. Weakness in this area can cause digestive system and stomach problems. Cord cutting exercise. Toxic draining relationships require what is often referred to as cord cutting. Once energetic cords are established, it can be difficult to break them without conscious intention. If you feel drained from certain family members, ex-partners, work colleagues, or anyone whom you have close regular contact with, then it may be time to repair your connection to them. You might sense that this other person sends you negative, harmful thoughts and energy, even when you're not close to them. If you feel you have been corded, then this cord-cutting exercise will help release it. 1. Imagine the other person and envision a cord or tube connecting the two of you from one of your chakras. 2. Next, visualize a cutting tool, such as scissors or sword, slicing through and cutting the cord at your chakra point. 3. Ask for the other person's energy to be returned to them and yours to be returned to you. Visualize this in your mind. 4. Following this, ask yourself what negative belief you are holding. which attracted this experience to you in the first place. With this realization, we begin to see that we are not innocent, helpless victims, but in fact we are attracting these experiences to us for a chance to overcome and grow through them. 5. Realize your self-worth as an empath is not dependent on helping others. This is a common misconception which leads to us attracting the wrong relationships. 6. End the exercise by forgiving the other party and releasing them with love. Meditation. If you have left an interaction with an energy vampire and feel drained, this is a great time to clear the connection. This can also be achieved through meditation. 1. Close your eyes and begin by making yourself comfortable. 2. Scan your body from the head down to the feet and pay attention to any attachments you feel. It shouldn't be too difficult to determine what part of the body you are being drained from. 3. Upon determining what part of the body you feel this connection to, look to see the shape or form of the connection. See a physical representation of this energetic attachment. To me, it looks like an energetic tube which sucks energy in. 4. Begin cutting the attachment away from you. Envision you have a sword made of light, and see this sword cutting through these attachments, which are then being released from your body. 5. Once the attachment or cord is removed, you must apply healing to the area by placing your hand over the chakra and send healing energy to the area. See the open chakra begin to restore. Allow it to heal and repair itself. 6. As the chakra is healed, visualize a new vibrancy and boost of energy within it. 7. Send the other person's energy and attachment back to them. There is no harm in this. It was their stuff in the first place. 8. Scan your whole body again, noticing if there are any other attachments or sensations. If you do sense something, carry out the same detaching for the new area. 9. Finally, envision a white light surrounding and protecting you. This bubble of protection will always remain with you, unless you decide to release it. You can practice this meditation almost anywhere. At work, on public transport, or anywhere you are able to go within for a few moments. The key to dealing with psychic attacks from unhealthy people is simply becoming more aware. Often energy vampires appear friendly, attractive, and charismatic, which draws us in. The fact that they show us attention usually allows us to let them close to us. It is not our responsibility to heal these people. At least, not until we have healed ourselves first. Conclusions on Empath. It is my sincerest hope that by reading this book, you have gained a deeper understanding of the complexity involved in human interaction, and that this information has left you better prepared to read and interact with the people you meet. As has been emphasized throughout this book, analyzing people ultimately boils down to identifying patterns in a person's body language, general appearance, and voice, in light of the context in which they occur, and then drawing conclusions from those patterns. Remember that body language is the most reliable indicator of the emotional state of a person. And so, in beginning your analysis, it will be helpful to temporarily ignore the actual words the person is saying and pay attention to non-verbal cues. Also remember that your own subjectivity can be fatal to an accurate analysis, so do your best to remain objective in all things. Now that you have a basic understanding of what it is to analyze people, you are ready to begin practicing. The best way to do this is simply by people watching. Anywhere you see people interacting, take notice. Look to their body language, their appearance, the context, and, if possible, the tone of their voices, and see what kind of conclusions pop into your head. There is an aspect of reading people that is instinctual, so you should cautiously heed any hunches that you get while analyzing a person. Once you start seeing your skills improve, you will be amazed at how much information people broadcast to the world, and how much information people do not pick up on. This book is meant to be a starting point. There are literally hundreds of books out there on body language, vocal tones, and on reading people in general. It is recommended that you read as many of these as possible. The sources outlined in the reference to this book would be tremendous start. Knowledge is power, And the more knowledge you have about how people tend to think and act, the more solid will be the foundation on which you build your analysis. So, take that curiosity that caused you to open this book and run with it. As long as you remain patient, objective, and curious, and as long as you remember to practice, your proficiency in the skills outlined in this book will grow by leaps and bounds. If you've reached the end of this video, then you already know something most people never realize in their entire lives. Your emotions are not a weakness. They are a compass, a shield, and a source of power that can shape your destiny. But knowledge means nothing if it stays closed between pages. Real transformation begins after you close the video. When you decide to apply what you've learned, protect your energy and walk into the world with new strength. So before you step into the next chapter of your life, do this. Share this video with someone who needs it. There is at least one person in your life who drowns in silence, absorbs too much, and hides their sensitivity behind a tired smile. Be the one who hands them the lifeline you just received. Leave a comment. Your words don't just support this mission. They help empaths around the world discover a guide they desperately need. A few seconds of your time could reach thousands who feel alone in their own emotions. Stay connected for more. This video is only the beginning. More guides, deeper insights, and powerful tools are on the way. Designed to elevate your mind, protect your energy, and unlock the hidden abilities you've always felt inside. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, or follow on your preferred platform, because your journey of transformation shouldn't end here, and it won't unless you choose to walk away. You've taken the first step, empath. This is where your power truly begins. Carry it with you and let the world feel the difference.